Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Podcast the Storm, where social awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co host, the nerdy cultist, aka the authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, everyone.
And I am the host last time. We'll want to be the brainstormer of pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
All things considered, I'm doing okay. I'm a bit anal retentive at the moment because I realized that when I took my meds before coming on the show, I took my last one, so hopefully my mom got the refill today at some point. Because otherwise withdrawal syndrome symptoms might be a thing. Oof. Anyway, that's not something we're gonna have to worry about in the course of the show anyway, because the pills last 6 hours. So never mind. But I just realized that, and now I'm thinking, fuck. Anyway, continue.
Right. I have done rather well, and we have. Uh, we have a stat. I don't want to say stat, but
We have a pretty full show for tonight, folks.
yeah. And I'm also sending. Give me a moment, folks, while I also send the link to the Discord to get anyone else who's interested, because I forgot to do that earlier.
Uh-huh. We're professionals. Wah, 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 wah.
I've never claimed to be a professional at anything.
Someday we'll get the hang of it, folks. Someday. It's been more than 200 episodes, but someday I swear we will get the hang of it. Maybe by the time we're at show number 1,000, we'll finally have the hang of it.
Wouldn't that be like 10 years? Like
52 shows in a year. So, and we're already at 200 after 3 years, or 3? No, 4 years. So, yeah, it'll be another 8 years before we get to 1,000, probably.
I think it probably helps that we do this like every week. So
We do, and sometimes we also do one-offs and soliloquies and so on and so forth. Sometimes. Less so now because we're limited by the number of hours that StreamYard will let us stream a month. But yeah.
Okay, so I'm still in Discord. Let's share. This you sent me this last week, Dalton, but we couldn't get to it because we already stacked it late, right?
Yeah, we already had a full slate for episode 200.
Yeah. So this is from the Wrap.com. Young Avengers Inside the Res Marvel's Next Generation. So full disclosure, I haven't read this myself.
I have. It's very dumb, and hence why it's here.
Right. Okay. So hello, Chrononaut. I saw the comments. I saw the comment. You did.
Hey, Corona.
All right. So yeah, it's gonna be okay. think I sent it. So yeah, I did. Okay, so I sent that on Discord. So now moving to the actual article stuff. Okay. So Catherine Newton, yeah, if I say these names wrong, again, I'm sorry. It's because like I am terrible at really talking. So
He's absolutely awful with names. I didn't correct him about my last name for the first 6 months of doing this show, and he mispronounced my last name like every single freaking time. Although, in his defense, he mispronounced it in a unique way rather than the way that most people, for some reason, choose to mispronounce it.
okay, so yeah, Young Avengers and Set Rise of Marvel's Next Generation. It's written by Andy Ortez. January published January 6th, 2023. Catherine Newton, Zuck,
Zoshi.
Zoshi, Miss Gomez, Iman Vellani, and Dominique Thorne pull back the curtain on a younger, more diverse MCU. And all women. It's pretty diverse. Wow, that made me sound like such a jackass.
No, it does, but at the same time, do you guys have a conception of what the word diverse means? Also, and I know I'm gonna sound like a bitter gay ex-boyfriend here when I say this, but where are my boys? Like, where are Hulkling and Wiccan?
Okay, what the fuck's going on here?
What is the website giving you all kinds of pop-ups and shit?
Well, that, and also apparently I've reached my monthly article limit. And I have to sign up for the free daily newspaper.
Motherfuckers. If I'd have known it was gonna do this, I would have pulled the Google document trick, but unfortunately.
To be fair, I was not aware every time I opened it that counted as reading it, so.
Yeah, you need to get a VPN so they can't trace your IP address.
I have a really old computer. I don't really think it matter.
Well, the way they can do that is by tracking your IP address. If you had a VPN to mask your IP address, they wouldn't be able to do that.
That's what I mean on getting a VPN. This is an old ass computer. I don't know if I could get one.
It should run on virtually any computer. Then again, your computer is a toaster, so who knows?
All right. Well, okay. I guess we're not doing the Young Avengers one this month.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be next week because I have to go through and do the Google document thing. Or Chrono, if you're listening, you could do us a solid and send us an archive version so we can continue the show.
You know, actually, I can do that myself because I have archived. Well, I have it like in my.
Honestly, we should just start archiving as a general rule because it would also prevent them from the various websites from getting clicks. But meh.
I just give it a second. Yeah, we're.
We interrupt this podcast with the storm for technical difficulties. Please stand by.
No, it's on our end, Dragon Turtle.
Because Brainstormer doesn't have a VPN, so they can track his IP address and make him not be able to see articles unless they let him. Which I suppose points to them for being crafty, but it's still fucking annoying.
All right, well, that's good. We got. Okay, that's good. We're good. Okay, we're good.
And now we resume your regularly scheduled podcast of the storm.
Okay. All right.
We need to get like a track of elevator music and a please stand by banner so that when stuff like that happens, we could literally just be like, nope, please stand by while we sort out the technical difficulties. Anyway, back to
Uh, yeah.
irregularly scheduled programming.
Uh, I don't think I have tinfoil dragon turtle.
I'm sorry, but given all the jokes I made about you being a poor inner city kid all the time, um, it the
Well,
the the concept that you don't even have tinfoil
no,
insists that I
no,
make the necessary
no,
poor joke.
we don't really use tinfoil often, like really at all. So
Hmm.
I never really need it. We never really have a reason to. So no.
Well, in my head, tinfoil is just one of those things that you always keep on hand for emergencies, similar to like duct tape. But
What the,
I'm weird.
what are you using tinfoil for?
To put over things that you put in the fridge so they don't go bad. What most people use tinfoil for.
Uh, I just use bowls and lids. That's it.
Clearly, this is yet another case of culture shock between rural ass stuck in the previous decade PA and inner city Indiana.
Right. Okay. Right. So back where we were. When the Marvel Cinematic Universe began with Iron Man in 2008. Yeah, it really has been that long. God damn.
Yeah, 2008. We're coming up on the 20-year anniversary here in 5 years.
Yeah. Star Robert Downey Jr. was 43 years old. Really? Huh.
He looked damn good for being in his 40s.
Yeah, I assumed mid to late 30s, to be fair.
Yeah, I was thinking like early 40s at the most. So like he 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 managed to maintain looking damn good for a full decade because he didn't even look that old in Endgame when he did his I am Iron Man moment. Now, granted, part of that is because they pay good money for a master class in makeup effects and so forth. So good on you, Robert Downey Jr.'s makeup department. But at the same time,
Uh,
you look damn good for being in his like late 50s now,
well,
apparently.
both Dragon Turtle, yes, Tupperware are literal bowls. Um, so I don't know if this is just me and my family, but when we like clean out like bowls with like butter and stuff, we keep those on hand to have them as like storage for food.
I mean, we do too, but we also regularly use like if something is an open container, like maybe lasagna or a cake or something,
Okay, yeah,
tinfoil.
maybe not cakes, but we do it for like lasagna, ham, obviously, because that is. Oh yeah, ham is like the one of the most bitch things to ever like put away.
It's one of the reasons I don't really like it very much. Like as far as proteins go, I think ham might be my least favorite.
Yeah, it's a mix of Tupperware and like bowls.
I just find it unusual that his family doesn't do what my family does, which is on the off chance we might need something, just stock up on random things that you always need, which includes things like duct tape, masking tape,
Okay,
tin foil.
so I think we have it. We do not use it. I think we've had the same roll of tinfoil for about a couple of years now. Just because, like, again, we don't use it often.
Yeah, ours too. We have like 3 or 4 rolls of tin foil that we barely ever use, but we always have on hand when we need it. It's just my mom always operated on the assumption of buy things in bulk that you might potentially need, so that you don't have to randomly run out of shit.
Um,
Like she has drawers full of batteries in case we need batteries, or we still have like construction paper or like lined paper from all the years when me and my brothers have been in school, just because we might need it at random times. Like
hmm. Okay. Anyway, at the time, I really hate that I can pronounce his name. I really do. I feel like an asshole with not being able to do it, but Z Z Zochil.
Xochitl Gomez.
Yeah.
This is extra funny when you consider that she is the Hispanic one, and Brainstormer is ethnically Hispanic, and he
Well,
can't pronounce Spanish names.
also technically mid. I'm also technically a Midwestern person.
Yeah, but
Technically, I'm a
but
little.
it does add extra irony salt to the wound here, is what I'm saying.
Uh, as I was raised by white people, so
Uh-huh.
and by that, obviously, I'm more saying like my grandparents, who is an Italian and Irish American, and my grandmother, who's an Irish. Uh, it's a lot of things now. I think that. Well,
Yeah, as I've often said, Brainstormer is a mixed race mutt.
see that you do realize that sounds a lot worse than you mean it to be, right?
Yes, I know, but I'm being deliberately edgy about it to make it funny.
Okay. At the time, Miss Gomez was 2. I literally didn't live in a world without it. The Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness Star points out. Huh.
How old was I in 2008? That I must have been getting ready. I must have been in like sixth grade, getting ready to go into middle school because I remember when I first wrote my first like writing thing that I became proud of at one point. It was 2009, which was I yeah, go. But yeah, the first time I tried to write something, it was 2009, which was my new League of Extraordinary Gentlemen fan fiction that involves random characters from all kinds of different shit. It also included Dr. Fate because I will never not write a superhero team that doesn't include Dr. Fate apparently. But
Um,
yeah, so I was in sixth grade going into middle school when when Iron Man came out. Must be.
yeah, that's weird. Because when I went to middle school, it was 6th grade, 7th, and 8th. That was middle school.
Yeah, no, for us, middle school was seventh and eighth grade, high school was ninth through 12th, and elementary school was 1 through 6, or kindergarten through 6, rather.
Yeah, it's weird how, like, I don't know if that changed or that's just where I'm at.
No, the standardization of the American educational system is annoyingly just verklempt from state to state,
Uh,
Like, it's just one of those things.
well, it's some kind of gaming. Let's see here. Uh, anyway, we are getting so off track. And she's far from the only new face in today's MCU who grew up as the franchise took over pop culture. In 2008, Miss Marvel breakout uh, Aman Vellani was 6 years old. Black Panther Wakanda Forever actress Dominique Thorne was 10. Ant-Man and the Lost Quantumania star Catherine Newton was 11.
Anyone else feeling really old now?
I mean, to be fair, I was actually besides Miss Marvel actress, I'm close to their ages. I think.
You would have been you were born in 99, right? So you would have been
Remember late '99, so I'm a little weird in terms.
yeah, so like between like 8 and 9 when Iron Man first came out.
Well, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say 7 and 8, but that didn't sound right to me. So
Yeah, no, because 99 to 2008 is 9 years, and depending on your birthday being in November, you'd be between 8 and 9.
although I don't think I saw the Iron Man movie until like 2 years after.
Yeah, so you would have been 11 when you first saw it, but 9 when it first came out. Which makes sense because I believe I would have been 13, 12 or 13 when it came out, and there's 4 years between us. So yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, now Awful Women are part of the next big wave of heroes, a group that, as a whole, is far younger than the men and women who started this universe. Okay? I don't really have anything to say about it.
I don't really care, other than it seems somewhat disproportional. Like, again, I hate to be this bitch, but where are my boys? Where are Hulkling and Wiccan? And no, Scar doesn't count because he is not Hulkling, even though I have the worst feeling in my bones that they're gonna try and replace Ted with Scar and call him Hulkling, and just hate all of that.
Mm. Um, right, okay. Damn it. Sorry, my brain is. I think my brain is shutting down a bit.
Brainstormer's brain is close to going. Brainstormer.exe has crashed, apparently.
Yeah, I'm just. I'll be honest. I've been having trouble sleeping, so my mind is a bit just off.
Uh-huh. Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's fine.
But the show goes on.
New Age of Heroes, known as the Infinity Saga, the first 11 years of the MCU were split into 3 phases, culminating with Avengers Endgame, but officially ending with Spider-Man Far From Home in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 4 began in 2021 with Black Widow and introduced a whole branch of new heroes as the core group from the Infinity Saga was scattered, either dead or retired or maybe even on the moon.
Not to be a completely pedantic bitch, but because for the first time the shows were 100% canon to the continuity, Phase 4 actually started with WandaVision several months before Black Widow came out. So, false. Like, provably, objectively, you can verify this to be false.
Right.
Not false because of my pedantic lore knowledge, but false because it is verifiably untrue because WandaVision came out months before Black Widow did.
Okay, and Marvel Studios look to inject some fresh blood into the MCU's future. Okay, I don't really have much to say about that.
I mean, the only thing I will add is that the foundations of the new phases are a lot less secure than the previous ones because the likability and writing quality of the various projects the new characters premiered in are not very reliably good. Like, Miss Marvel was okay, but it still had massive flaws as compared to literally everything else in the MCU. Black Widow should have came out, frankly, when Captain Marvel did, and should have revolved around Budapest rather than the bullshit that it actually did revolve around, because Clint and Natasha had been Easter egging Budapest into the conversation for 10 freaking years. And Cassie Lang, Cassie Lang is the least objectionable of all of these. Like, I don't have any feelings toward her one way or the other. Riri is always going to be somewhat difficult because to the degree that they did fix her to a degree in Wakanda Forever, but she still is more abrasive than she should be, probably. The one that's fared the best is probably Xochitl Gomez's America Chavez, because they basically took everything that was objectionable about that character and sanded all of it off, and actually gave her a sympathetic, frail human backstory instead of making her a Mary Sue who ball busts everyone she comes into contact with and spouts Spanglish everywhere. So yeah, so of these, the one I'm most excited to see more of, and I never in a million billion years thought I would be saying this, but honestly, based on how the writing has gone so far with regards to the new characters, the one I'm looking forward to the most apart from maybe Wiccan, because assuming that they write Hulkling and Wiccan well eventually, I could get into those. But at least as far as we've set up now, America Chavez is probably the most likable character in the next generation of the MCU. And oh my god, that's not good news for the rest of the MCU. Oh no. Ugh.
All right, move on.
Yeah, continue.
All right, Phase 4 projects brought the introduction of characters like Kate Bishop, played by Hailey Stanfield.
Okay, Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop didn't piss me off either. She was also very much sent, like the rough edges were sanded off of her too.
To be fair, I
So
think
so maybe Kate Bishop is
it's
more marketable than America Chavez. Maybe.
to be fair, if I remember correctly, she wasn't a bad character in the comics before the 2010s.
Yeah, they took a character who actually worked and unworked her, and then the MCU went and essentially reinitiated most of what the original comics did. So yeah,
Yelena Belova, Florence Pugh. If I say them wrong, again, I'm sorry if I say it.
yeah, the secondary Black Widow, which unfortunately for you, Miss Pugh, is what you're always going to be referred to as. You're not replacing Natasha. Sorry.
Which is it's actually funny because I'm actually working on a rewrite of Thunderbolts, which I know it hasn't come out yet, but I don't really think it's gonna be good.
It's not. They should have gone full Dark Avengers / full like Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad with all the Phase 4 characters, but that would have included Abomination. It would have included Agatha Harkness. It would have included Mordo. It would have included like there's a bunch of characters from a bunch of different corners of the MCU that Thunderbolts by right should have included, and they didn't. They basically are like 90% Super Soldier with one Black Widow in the actual lineup of Thunderbolts, and it pisses me off because I was looking forward to seeing more Mordo and more Agatha, at least. Oh well.
I made her the Red Widow, which in the Marvel comics is the Winter Guard, which is like basically Russian Avengers. Black Widow.
Uh-huh. And it would have given her her own character identity, which is something that she desperately needs to not look like the rip-off version. And that's the sad thing. If you give these characters their own identities, separate from the legacy characters they're trying to rip off, they can work independently as their own characters. But the more you try to insist, for example, that Sam Wilson is entirely analogous to Steve Rogers and should be called the next Captain America, the more people call bullshit.
All right, so
and should call bullshit.
There's a question, and I hate myself for even thinking about asking this, but to everyone here, if you would be interested in me trying to rewrite the MCU Phase 4, let me know.
Bearing in mind, we've already kind of done that in our own universe, the Lionhearted. And not to toot our own horn here, but we did it better. So much better.
Anyway.
Continue.
America Chavez, Miss Gomez, Kamala Khan, Vellani, and more. Some are teens, some are in their 20s, some haven't even hit their teenage years yet, though Billy and Tommy did age rapidly in WandaVision.
To be fair, if we're really talking about the second generation of the MCU, Tom Holland's Spider-Man should probably be included here because he was always Tony Stark and then kind of Doctor Strange's protege. So he does kind of fit the next generation of heroes role, especially because he's in high school in the same way, or was in high school in the same way as Kamala Khan and presumably America Chavez in her home dimension, if we ever get to see her home dimension. So like they're roughly in the same age bracket as um Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So technically, if we're doing Young Avengers, number one, he should probably be the leader because of both notoriety of the character and notoriety of the actor, but also
Experience.
um experience. And number two, he probably should be included in the cast of Young Avengers based on he is literally the protege or the apprentice of Iron Man and to a lesser degree Doctor Strange. So yeah.
Okay. As a result, many fans have raised hopes that perhaps the MCU equivalent of the Young Avengers comics, which focused on groups of adolescents who were directly connected to Marvel's main group of Avengers, might be coming. But according to Marvel's casting director Sarah Finn, who's been responsible for casting some of the biggest heroes in the franchise, including Thor and Black Panther, this new age of heroes, both figuratively and literally, wasn't, from my experience, a proclamation from Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. It was just the next step for the universe after the Infinity Saga concluded, as it was an exciting one.
I mean, the excitement level is rather debatable because, frankly, the only character that has been introduced so far that I actually, for real, with no reservations, care about is Agatha Harkness. And even then, you might actually have a problem on your hands because, for all intents and purposes, she's a more competent magic user right now in the MCU than Doctor Strange is. So that might come to be a problem for Doctor Strange down the line if you don't fix his character right quick. Because otherwise, I'm going to be right there with everyone else advocating for Agatha Harkness, Sorceress Supreme. I didn't think we would ever fall that far from me not wanting Doctor Strange to be Sorcerer Supreme and instead advocating for Agatha Harkness. But Agatha Harkness is a really cool character in the MCU. Doctor Strange has yet to be Doctor Strange in the MCU. So here we are.
Right. Okay. I will say that after Avengers Endgame, it was one of the things that really fueled me. Then told the rap. I know there's that moment of wait, where do we go from here after Endgame? It felt so final, and then of course that impulse is we go with more representation, more diversity. We go younger. There's a whole fresh wave to explore here, and for me personally, that's really given me tremendous energy to, to kind of move forward.
Yes, Dragon Turtle, I agree. It could be worse. We could have no characters worth rooting for, but this version of America is less bad than she was in the comics. This version of Riri is, albeit to a lesser degree, less bad than she was in the comics. This version of Miss Marvel's powers I actually really enjoy, even though her status as a mutant and a Jinn simultaneously buggers up matters. And like I say, Agatha Harkness is a better magic user than Doctor Strange so far in the MCU. So it could be worse. But at the same time, it must be said that one of the things that made Marvel phases 1 to 3 work was that the groundwork was so solid that there was a solid foundation to build on. And the problem with phase 4 on up is that if the new characters are meant to replace or at least, you know, be the next iteration of the new characters or of the old characters, then um, they need a more solid foundation than a movie people didn't like, several shows people were kind of iffy on, several shows that people were actually mad at, like She-Hulk and the end of WandaVision and so on, and several like successors to the previous characters like Sam and Yelena that just straight up are not as likable or as engaging as their previous iterations. Like there is a problem here. it's not as bad as a lot of the more nihilistic anti-SJW black pills would say. And I'm speaking as an anti-SJW. I just think there are some people who are anti-SJW ain't wrong because they're going full black pill instead of taking things on a case by case basis. So it's not as bad as MCU, quote unquote, but the foundation also isn't there to build on like it was in the previous generation, and that's going to end up being a problem. Even if Kevin Feige does get his head out of his ass and stop with all the social justice shit before it gets to before the cancer spreads too far and becomes terminal, there's still world building and character building issues that are going to need to be addressed. Namely, that these characters are unlikable ripoffs in comparison to a lot of previous characters, and that's not a good basis for continuing a universe. If you look at the new crop of characters and go, like 90% of these are unlikable ripoffs of the previous characters, that's not a good thing for fan investment, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. Moving on now.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Sorry, I forgot about this. The most recent young addition came in the form of Ray Williams, played by Dominic Thorne, who you might recognize from Judas and the Black Messiah or If Beale Street Talk. I've not seen those movies.
I don't recognize her from either of those movies because both of those movies were hipstery trash. Because the gulf between blockbuster cinema and independent cinema is getting wider and wider and wider and more egregious over the course of the most recent years. So yeah, no, those aren't movies that anyone would know at all.
Made a movie, Marvel debut in the final film of Phase 4, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, opposite
Letitia Wright, the actress who plays Shuri.
Letitia Wright. Sorry, I'm terrible at fucking names. I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Letitia Wright's Shuri. Thorne is set to lead her own series on Disney Plus this year with Ironheart. Okay.
That's it. Again, it's possible they fixed Riri. It's possible they could fix her. But even the fixed version of her we got from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I almost said Black Panther. That would have been a terrible slip of the tongue. But even the fixed version of her we got in Black Panther Wakanda Forever was nowhere near as fixed as even America Chavez in Multiverse of Madness was. And that's saying something when writers somehow managed to make America Chavez a likable character and they still struggled with Riri. So I worry slightly about Ironheart becoming the next year's version of She-Hulk, especially because, and here's the big like inexcusable problem with Riri Williams in the MCU. There are already at least two proper successors to Tony Stark in the MCU that people know and like better than Riri. Namely, there is Spider-Man, who has already been established as basically Tony's adoptive son / protege. And of course, there is the niggling, incidental little detail that Tony already has a biological daughter who by rights probably should be MCU Ironheart if there's going to be one. Like that's the big problem. Was you could actually I'm gonna chastise the MCU here a little bit because this is kind of a case of SJWism biting itself in the ass. Because what you could have done if you gave Tony a son, even though that would be a sin by SJW standards, if you gave Tony a son, what you could have done is have him be Iron Lad for the Young Avengers / Champions. And then you could have set up Riri as Ironheart. That would have been fine. In the same way as you had the original Iron Man and War Machine simultaneously and nobody cared. But because you gave Tony a daughter for basically representational SJW reasons, now you don't have the option of having Iron Lad and Ironheart as separate characters because most people are thinking to themselves, okay, if there's going to be a female, younger version of Iron Man, shouldn't it be his own daughter? Instead of this random black chick that came out of nowhere and nobody even liked in the comics. And therein lies the problem. Again, SJWism eating itself. If you gave Tony a son, you could have worked your way out of this, but you didn't give Tony a son, you gave him a daughter. So now we're all thinking, okay, if there's going to be an Ironheart, it probably should be Tony's own daughter instead of this random black chick who nobody even really liked in the comics. Or you could have also made Riri the daughter or cousin of Rhodey, and then she could have taken his place instead of Tony's. But now we are left in a situation where all that Spider-Man being Iron Man's apprentice stuff that was set up was nerfed by No Way Home's ending, and we're not even going to acknowledge Morgan Stark, Tony's daughter, because we already have an Ironheart and it has to be Riri Williams instead of it being a thing that a father would pass to her daughter or his daughter, which would make sense. Anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm. In the comics, Williams is a teen prodigy attending MIT who builds her own super suit by reverse engineering Tony Stark's Iron Man suit design. She's also a genius like Tony, though Thorne would note that she only needs 3 words, as opposed to Tony Stark's 4 descriptors. Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Describe the character. Bad girl genius.
And see that therein lies the other problem of Riri Williams because and thank you Dominique for confirming that part of Riri Williams will not be fixed and will be embraced regardless of whether that's a good idea. Because here's the thing with Riri, and this has been a thing ever since the character's been introduced. Almost everyone who reacted to Riri Williams when she originally came on the scene of the comics had a problem with her, not on the basis of her race, not on the basis of her background, not on the basis of any of that shit, but on the basis of the character's moral system is such that she acts like a villain. Because in the comics, her backstory was such that she insisted her teacher come up with something she couldn't do so that she, Riri, could take it as a form of oppression and deliberately, defiantly do the thing that her teacher suggested she couldn't do. And the thing the teacher suggested was, okay, you can't be the next Iron Man. And then Riri basically made that her purpose in life to spite her teacher who she had to deliberately ask to oppress her. And then once she became Ironheart, she had this problem where she would do things that she would define as heroic, but that everyone else would define as villainous. Like, for example, invading the airspace of a sovereign country, that being Latveria, to kick Doctor Doom's ass on the basis that he had committed international crimes, despite the fact that, as anyone who knows comics knows, Doom might be a villain everywhere outside of Latveria or everywhere outside of places he controls, but he is the very definition of an actually benevolent dictator within the confines of Latveria. So you had a rightfully elected, rightfully sovereign head of a country being beaten up by a teenage girl who invaded that country's airspace specifically to beat him up and then take him to the UN tribunal of human rights or whatever the fuck. Yeah, it's a very villainous thing, and that's been the biggest problem of Riri ever since her creation was because of essentially her being an SJW character, her morality is that of a villain, but the world goes out of its way to frame it as though she's a hero. And if that aspect of Riri is remaining consistent, unlike uh, America Chavez, who most of her negative character traits were undone by the transfer to the movies, Riri might once again kind of end up being the next year's She-Hulk, because She-Hulk also had that problem of being such a living embodiment of social justice, the ideology, as a character, that she did villainous or selfish or stupid things, but the world erroneously framed her as the hero.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If it wasn't how bad She-Hulk was, I would never have done my rewrite.
Yeah, no, She-Hulk as a character isn't the problem. Like, the character has a history in the comics years long, and she's a perfectly likable, perfectly engaging, perfectly nice character. That's not the character we got in the show, however. The character we got in the show was a bitter, type A, middle-aged, um, career woman who spouted like generic intersectional feminist talking points at any given moment and thought that all men were idiots, evil, naive, or all three simultaneously.
Anyway, we've harped on She-Hulk many times before, so
We have, but it deserves it every time we do it. So anyway, moving on.
Okay, so for Thorne, it's super exciting just to see the shift in Marvel heroes, let alone be part of it. Being 18 years old when the MCU was created, she always loved the fun and the action of films, but now, 3 phases later, being a part of the franchise is much more than just being an action star. I think the other thing that they do really well, that really does sort of seal the deal when it comes to the effect that you're left with when you get the combination of them together, is true character development. Thorne told the Wrap during press for Black Panther Wakanda Forever in November. And true stories that are rooted in people and relationship that convicts the audience enough to go on the journey with them, so that by the time you're seeing this metal suit fly up into the sky and shoot down something, you're in it and you're believing it and you're supporting and you might even be rooting for it.
Okay, good for you, Dominique Thorne, for actually saying something intelligent. The problem is with this new crop of social justice influenced characters, character and character development appear to be the lowest on the list. The highest rung on the list now appears to be, is it moral based on social justice precepts? And then how much can we weaponize it to shit all over the fan base? And then maybe we'll get around to characters if we feel like it. And therein lies the problem. I'm not saying that's going to continue to happen, because it seems like, from what I've heard from behind the scenes, Kevin Feige loosened his grip on the reins a bit, assuming that people around him would be able to do their jobs without direct oversight from him all the time, and it resulted in the lackluster nature of Phase Four. And now that he's seen the consequences of Phase Four, he's kind of getting back in the saddle and tightening his grip again. So maybe they will end up fixing Ironheart so that it's not the next She-Hulk. But the problem is, a large percentage of the writing staff appear to want shows like She-Hulk and Ironheart to be social justice, the character, rather than independent characters in their own right. And that's always going to be a problem, because moralism in place of artistic quality will always result in getting moralism over artistic quality. And as the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. If you pay for moralistic Puritanism, you'll get moralistic Puritanism. If you pay for quality, you might get quality. And especially when social justice as an ideology, in many cases and in many ways, deliberately exists to spite the very notion of quality or objective value, it's a bit of a problem. Yeah, moving on though.
Yeah. She continued, and so now to see a variety of young new faces in the latter portion of the phases from Marvel, and to see them be a variety of continents, cultures, experiences, I think it really does mean that, as always, Marvel is continuing to tap into what works and what matters, and what is really at the forefront of people wanting to sit down in one spot for 2 to 3 hours, which is something that's authentic and truthful, and today that looks like the audience being able to see something that they can identify with, which in turn means increasing the variation of stories being told and the perspectives.
And she had an intelligent thing to say, and she lost it.
Uh, I mean, maybe I'm being charitable here, but I can kind of see what she means. But granted, I think I'm looking at for more diversity of thought and
Yeah, and that was the rant I was just about to go on. Miss Thorne, you don't have to have people of the same identities or particularly demographic identities to have something that people can relate to. Because people, in general, outside of the social justice echo chamber, relate to characters based on their individual natures as individual characters and their individual skills, hobbies, interests, life philosophies, um, or just philosophies in general. Those are the things that people find relatable and engaging. I've given this example 500 million freaking times, but when I was a child, one of my all-time favorite movies to watch over and over and over and over and over and over again was Matilda, the Danny DeVito one from the 90s that starred Mara Wilson that most people are familiar with. It never even occurred to me that there would be a distinction between the fact that Matilda was a girl and I was a boy. Never even occurred to me because I was more interested in what we had in common as people, and gender was never that important to me. Same with race. Another example. In the universe of Static Shock, which was a great show, full stop, no matter which character you identified with the most or otherwise, um, my favorite character was a character by the name of a Nazi. Obviously, obviously riffing off of the myth and symbology of a Nazi, the Spider God, who's the god of trickstery, a trickster god of stories, knowledge, and magic. And he was my favorite character because he was the wise, all-knowing wizard-like magic user, and I've always identified with wise, magic user type characters, regardless of race, gender, demographic of any meaning meaningful, kind. And I mean, for fuck's sake, my favorite character in the entirety of the Star Wars, or okay, my two favorite characters in the entirety of the Star Wars canon are Master Yoda, who I will always refer to as Master Yoda because he deserves that title, who is a little green alien who speaks in haikus, and Mother Talzin, a gypsy witch shamaness from another planet entirely. And did it ever occur to me that both their gender and their species were different? Fuck no. They were awesome, highly intellectual magic users, and that was what I cared about. As someone who has spent 16 years of his own life studying both philosophy in general and also magic. Like these are the things that people actually identify with, not demographics, not hive minds. Identities aren't teams, especially not demographic ones, but individual choices of hobbies, interests, skill sets, backgrounds, etc. And you don't need demographics or social justice hive minds to to find yourself in the same background as someone, regardless of their race, gender, or other demographic information. Moving on. Jesus fucking Christ.
Right. Building the roster. I will say maybe in like another half hour, if we're not done, we'll call it for this one and move it to finish it next week.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Even with those varying stories and perspectives, Sarah Finn notes that the process of casting the MCU, at least on a broad level, hasn't changed all that drastically from the beginning to now. In so many ways, it's not that different. Instead, because the pressure is always there to find the right person and find someone that our filmmaker is going to feel great about. That Kevin, Lou, Despacito, Victoria Alonso, all the powers that be at Marvel are going to feel great about. That is going to become hopefully a charismatic star that audiences love, and also to please the fans. So that is always there.
See, therein lies the problem, because social justice as an ideology, number one, does see demographics as teams and does think that only identities can be something that people relate to rather than the aforementioned list of things I gave that most people actually relate to. But also because two of the axioms that social justice revolves around are number one, spite the fans wherever possible, because they're naive and delusional because they believe in something called meritocracy to some degree. And by the way, there is no such thing as artistic quality or artistic worth, and any conception of artistic quality and artistic worth are just harmful social constructs that we need to unlearn. So you'll get writers deliberately trying to spite all the standards of quality storytelling and deliberately deconstructing, i.e., burning to the fucking ground, anything that the fans enjoy, specifically to watch their reaction of horrified anger when you take something that someone cares for and smash it with a hammer and then burn it to ashes. Uh, moving on.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, she continued even in this new phase. For example, we had really established stars like Oscar Isaac, and in the previous phase, when we cast, Chris Hemsworth, he wasn't a known person. When we cast Chris Pratt, he wasn't known. So I think early on we had to also do searches and take risks. Right now we are still dealing with some established stars and newcomers, but I think that for me it's been making friends with fear and the unknown because I don't know what's going to come next. And
Okay, but that's the thing. You can cast unknown actors and you can even cast them in unknown roles. But the thing you have to be very, very sure to keep consistent if you're going to play this high risk, high reward game of yours, Marvel, is you have to keep the quality consistent. And if you have a bunch of moralistic college educated harridans telling you that merit doesn't exist, and in fact, it's immoral to think that merit exists. And anyone who does believe it, i.e., the fans, is either childishly naive, stupidly stubborn, evil, or some combination of all three. So, changing that variable is going to be your downfall, Marvel. Because you can do obscure characters, you can do obscure actors, but you have to make sure you keep things like meritocracy and quality in mind, or the entire MCU is going to slowly crumble around you while you spontaneously insist that no such thing could be possible. And I really don't want to see that happen because I really want the superhero genre to be successful. And right now, Marvel is the one making it successful because DC has been laying down on the job for at least a decade now. But, baby steps to fixing that clusterfuck. So please, Marvel, please learn the difference between something being morally good and being qualitatively good. They're not always the same thing, and very often they kind of are diametrically opposed to each other, especially when your morality insists that quality doesn't exist. Moving on.
okay, and we're just going to sort of humbly go out there saying, we know we're going to search, we're going to work hard, and we're going to do our best, but we don't know what we're going to find. Uh, what exactly does it take to become a Marvel hero now? For Finn, there's no one X factor. Clear sign that they found the right person is if she doesn't feel like she's watching an audition, or rather just sitting in a room with the character themselves. Of course, there are important aspects that still need to be considered. Look, talent is number one, right? She said, does this person have talent? Do they have talent not only to play what's in front of them, but potentially go the long distance? Because we've seen so many of these characters evolve and change over time. So I certainly think talent is a starting point. Don't rule out the charm factor either.
Okay, that's the correct answer, but here's the problem. If the writing quality is such that they don't let the characters change or evolve because the characters are so perfect and unquestionably good to begin with, that no amount of talent is going to be able to save that problem. Like, like I believe, like Tatiana Maslany, for example, who plays She-Hulk, is an excellent, excellent actor. She is. I've seen her in Orphan Black. I've seen her in other things, and she is an amazing actress. The problem being, the writers don't think that She-Hulk as a character needs to evolve because she is the avatar of everything that they wish they could say to everyone who they don't like, which for some reason includes the fans that they're supposedly making the show for. So no matter the talent that the actor has, if they can't actually actualize that talent because the writing gets in the way rather than assists in actualizing that talent, it's a bit of a problem. Moving on.
Uh, chari- Charisma is really important, she added. Are we drawn in? Do we want to watch them? For me, heart. Is the audience going to connect? I think there is a connective tissue in the MCU in terms of humor. There's a sense of humor, there is a wink in the eye. And especially with Marvel's new generation of young heroes, there is one additional layer that then is cognizant of. Maturity is an important. I wouldn't say quality, but an important aspect, an important factor that I take in when we're casting it.
I and there exactly lies the problem. Number one, you need to be aware of the fact that just because you like seeing this person or this character doesn't mean the audience will. Which, to be fair to the new generation of Marvel stars, this was a problem even with some of the other, the previous Marvel stars, namely Brie Larson. And I assume that Brie Larson had this same sort of meeting with Marvel once upon a time where they tested her talent, tested her charisma, tested her sense of humor. The one thing they didn't account for is the standards of the audience are sometimes different from the standards of the studio. That's one. And two, why do you feel the need to add this extra layer for the new characters that you didn't feel the need to add in the previous one?
Uh, she was going to give a reason before you.
Yeah, sorry. Let's actually see her reason, and then if it's stupid, I will be back to eviscerate it again.
I mean, to be fair, the child actors, like that maturity is kind of needed.
I mean yes, but I really worry that one of her criteria for maturity is going to involve in it's going to involve, you know, can they be representative of an entire demographic, or can the black characters speak for all blackness or whatever? And if it goes there, I'm gonna explode.
This is what they're thrust into the sort of worldwide attention, the social media attention, everything. Someone as young as Miss Gomez and as young as Amon, I want to know that they're going to be okay. And it's hard. It's a lot. But both of them are handling themselves so beautifully.
Okay, this isn't a problem in this particular moment, but vilifying social media or treating social media like a problem to be solved rather than a fan base to be interacted with is kind of a problem that I'm seeing a lot of in a lot of different aspects of Hollywood.
I don't think that's what she meant.
I don't know. I have the worst feeling that she's going to start saying things like
That was the end.
social media is bad because of
That
all
was
the
the
haters.
end of that was the end of the point.
Yeah, but again, like I said, it's not a problem in that particular moment, but just a little piece of advice for Hollywood. Your fan base is not the problem, ever. If your fan base is angry with you, then it's a you problem, not a them problem. Are we clear?
I was just under the impression of like, I mean, to be fair, I don't like the spotlight much.
I mean, yeah, but that's not what they mean because they never extend that to any of the other more traditional actors. Like they've never said that about RDJ um or Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth. They only are concerned because
Don't look at the history of child actors. I can understand the worry.
I mean on paper I can too, but there's so much oh, you just dislike this character because they're diverse.
I'm not talking
Bullshit.
about the actors. I'm talking about the actors themselves.
Yeah, but the actors need to learn to address that criticism and not vilify it. It is the problem, and that's the difference between modern actors, or especially in this diverse category, and every other actor under the sun. Every in prior generations, when fans had criticism of an IP or the actors who portrayed said IP, the correct answer was internalize the criticism. Maybe the fans have a point. But
It's
now
no, I'm not.
it's the fans never have a point and they're immoral for having an issue.
Okay, we're moving on. I'm not having this conversation. I just think we're gonna go around in circles.
Mm-hmm. Moving on.
It's supporting supers. Of course, Miss Miss Gomez and Iman Vellani themselves would chalk some of their ability to handle the pressure of the MCU up to the co-stars with whom they've been paired. Speaking to the Wrap for the release of Miss Marvel on Disney Plus last year, Vellani noted that Brie Larson and Tiana Harris, who played Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, respectively, were immediately observant of her mental state while working together on their upcoming Phase 5 film, The Marvels, and regularly checked in. It was something that helped her significantly. If I'm having like an off day or I'm really exhausted by powering through, and I will take care of myself, Bree will see that and she will come up to me and she will talk to me and just make sure that I'm taking care of myself. Like I said, because you can get so overwhelmed and lost in this world, and just there's so much being asked of us. And it's really important to kind of take a step back and see what you need in your environment to be able to do this work.
I don't really have any problems with that part. Moving on.
She continued because we were doing like 10, 14-hour work days in really uncomfortable costumes. It's very physically and emotionally demanding. And so it's just really nice that Brie and Tiana, I think that's her name. Again, I'm terrible with names, so uh, kind of check up on me and make sure I'm doing okay. And I feel like I do the same for them, but it's not, at the same level.
I mean good for Brie Larson, I suppose. I guess the woman does have a soul after all. Then again, I do wonder how much of this is PR trying to reform Brie Larson's character, because we all know that she's kind of a soulless bitch.
For Miss Gomez, who got her star on Netflix as The Babysitters Club. I've read those books. Not
I
bad.
didn't I didn't realize she was in that.
Of course, checking in on her most while working on Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness was Benedict Wong, who plays the MCU's current Sorcerer Supreme, and connective thread between projects. Wong.
I mean, on the surface, I have a minor problem with the fact that she didn't spotlight Benedict Cumberbatch first. But then again, I've seen interviews with Benedict Cumberbatch, and he doesn't really seem like that much of an emotional person. So maybe it is just the fact that, much like Brie Larson comes off as a bit of a soulless bitch, in real life, Benedict Cumberbatch is also kind of a soulless bitch. So maybe that's why she jumped right to Wong instead of jumping to Cumberbatch. But maybe I'm reading too much into
Probably.
it.
She honestly,
Anyway,
literally from the very first day, she said, and he's like, anything you need, I'm here. Kind of just like that. Uh, just a really genuine one person. I really hope we get to work together. He's just awesome. But Gomez's co-star is Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen, who played Dr. Stephen Strange in What a Nice One, which respectively, or BC and Lizzie as Gomez gets to call them, made, made sure to mentor the young actress in her own ways too. I mean, Lizzie was the one who told me that Marvel wants your feedback and don't be shy to get ideas, Gomez recalled, so I did that sometimes, and it would be really crazy when we be able to shoot an idea that I had.
okay, good for her. That's perfectly like that makes sense. And if part of what made America Chavez more tolerable than she was in the comics in Multiverse Madness was due to your input, Ms. Gomez, by all means, thank you. Because the character needed a lot of input from outside sources to be tolerable.
Catherine Newton, who's set to make her MCU debut this year as the new older version of Cassie Lang, Scott Lang's daughter, after having a different role cut from Avengers Endgame, says Paul Rudd offered similar advice to her while filming Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, encouraging her to not shy away from letting her voice come through in the franchise.
Yeah, fair enough. That that's okay.
We fell right into casting Scott immediately. We had some rehearsals. Paul was doing some improv, and I would just do a little bit, get me explained. And when we started filming, we did a couple scenes with Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer and Evangeline Lilly. And Paul and I were on our break. He was like, "Listen, I can tell you're funny. Just don't hold back." He's like, "If I could say one thing, don't finish this movie and wish that you didn't try that joke. Just don't hold back. Do it all." Like it's a movie. At the end of the day, they're gonna cut it if it's not funny, and they might use it if it is. And I was like, "Really? Oh, a Marvel movie on a Marvel movie, you can try things?" And he's like, "Yes."
That I believe. That sounds like something Paul Rudd would do. So yeah, fair enough.
Mhm.
Like I believe it less with Brie Larson because the woman does not have a sense of humor at all, demonstrably. But I believe it with Benedict Wong because he does genuinely seem like a nice guy, and I believe it with Scott Lang. But I don't really believe it as much with Benedict Cumberbatch or with Brie Larson because they both are personality deficients.
We're all trying to do the same thing. This is another part of it, and I think this is going to be the one we're going to end on at least. While working with the actors who have been in the universe for years at this point has proven helpful. Perhaps more important is the fact that these new heroes are also better for each other, though their respective projects haven't overlapped much just yet. Of course, we don't know who might show up in Quantum Mania. They've met at premieres and events and started developing their own friendships, according to Newton. Miss Gomez is helping her get better at being on TikTok. Shut up.
Oh dear.
I know you're gonna say something. Just,
I mean maybe this is just me being an old man, but I hate that TikTok has become an actual thing we all have to acknowledge exists.
it's not as bad as you think. Granted, there are stupid people and putting shit on there. I'm not gonna deny that. To be fair, that's everything. To be fair, like
Yeah, but the proportions, though.
I disagree. I think it just depends on where you're looking.
To some degree, in the same way that Twitter facilitates stupidity more because of the character limit, I think TikTok facilitates the stupidity more because of the time limit of a TikTok.
I've seen some good stuff, so I think I think it's just experiences. That kind of
Again, maybe this is just me being an old man, not being sold on the new technology, but God, I hate that TikTok has become a thing we now have to acknowledge
I am
on
lucky that I'm still
a
young enough
societal scale.
to be open minded.
Hmm?
I'm lucky I'm still young enough that I can be open minded.
Oh, oh, sweet summer child, you will come. There will come a time where they will come for something you love, and then you will understand why I hate things.
Don, I barely use social media as is, so I particularly do not care what one way or another. So
Oh dear.
I think that there is in a way a camaraderie, almost like being on the same team. Newton said it reminds me of my golf team experience in high school. Like you see each other, you know what you're both trying to do, and you have this respect, but you can also goof around and like call each other out because we're all trying to do the same thing.
I mean, fair enough. That's very sweet, but I also kind of don't care. So fair enough.
Gomez sings Newton's praises just as loudly, noting that the Phonomania star actually texted her just prior to Gomez's interview with the rap. Multiverse of Madness performer has also made a point to connect with Shang-Chi stars Simu Liu, can't say, as well as Miss Marvel star Iman Vellani. In fact, early on, Gomez and Vellani set aside time to grab dinner together, and where they were able to bond over being young brown girls in the MCU and what that means.
And see, there it is. The brown does not matter, guys, and neither does the girl part. Really.
Uh, the young women also discussed their experiences with bands, both positive and negative, and spoke openly about the difficulties that come with those experiences. It was just nice to be able to have these shared experiences that made me feel like, okay, I'm not the only one on this said, and especially with harassment and haters and stuff, and being able to be like, okay, it's not just me. This happens to you. It happens to a few other people as well. But it's like sometimes when it's in the moment, you forget, and it just becomes like this thing of like, what is going on to me?
Um, and once again, I know I kind of jumped the gun a little earlier here, but the haters aren't haters. The haters are probably just disgruntled fans, and harassment is virtually not a thing if you just make use of the block button or the mute button. Like there are options outside of, oh, I'm a victim because harassment and haters, or just sitting there and taking it. But in general, something I want to extend to all of Hollywood: your alleged haters are probably just fans who aren't getting what they want. And if there are fans of your if there are fans of your given IP that aren't getting what they want, you probably should at least extend some effort to try and give them what they want instead of name calling them as haters and harassers. Just pointing that out.
Moving on. She continued, and it's just so much worse for brown people because there's layers of racism, and it's tough. And so,
No,
hold on. And so, being able to talk to Amon and be like, you're not the only one, and being able to show my support, and being able to kind of take her out to dinner, and being able to take her mind off it, be able to like release it all, then afterwards be able to laugh and just be like the conversation we just had. Look at that, we're laughing, and it's great.
okay, guys, all of y'all. I'm speaking as someone who was born with a physical disability and is gay and is a practicing occultist. Like I have at least three vectors of minority cards here. Your minority statuses do not make the problem worse at all. And what's more, I'm going to say to you, I'm going to say something that I often say with regards to these articles, but in your guys' case, I'm saying it in a constructive way. Something something very important to keep in mind. Identities are not teams. You are not an extension of every brown girl ever, or every brown person ever, or every individual segment of diversity credentials ever. You are individuals. You do not have any obligation to feel a collective responsibility for all brown girls ever or all girls ever. See your characters and yourselves as individuals, please. It is better for you, and it is better for your art, and it is better for your fan base. Identities are not and do not have to be teams. No matter what your teachers have told you, no matter what your acting coaches have told you, you are individuals with individual merits and individual responsibilities. Identities are not teams, especially not demographic identities. If you want to find a team camaraderie from intellectual pursuits or skills or interests that you individually have, that's one thing. But identities of a demographic variety are not teams, no matter what the pseudo intellectual hacks in academia and Hollywood would like to tell you. You are free to be individuals. You do not have to be bound to the responsibilities of every person who's ever looked vaguely like you, but not acted or thought vaguely like you. Moving on. That actually felt good to give some constructive advice to some people who need it for once. Jesus Christ, that felt good.
Well, that was the end of that article. Well, not the end of the article itself, but end of that section of the article.
Yeah, and we have another abyss we need to stare into, namely the Velma one.
Oh no, I mean there's the other one after that. Which, just give me one moment. All right. Well, it's a shame Corrupt's not here.
Yeah, do we want to save Velma for the next time Corrupt is here? Because I
I think
really want to see his reaction to things.
no, I actually think we kind of need it for the time. So
I mean, what else do we have to cover tonight? Because
Gotham,
we already spent probably too long on that first one.
Gotham Knights and Batman trailer thing.
I mean, how much do you have to say about Gotham Knights? We probably could take that up a while. Or do we want to just go whole hog and do Velma anyway?
I really think we should. I think this won't give us more time to talk.
Okay, Velma it is then.
Yeah, I
Oh
am.
boy.
For the record, I am aware. I think we're both aware that because I think you have seen it.
Yes, we're up to I think 4 episodes on the Velma front. 4 out of 10 because for some reason Velma gets more episodes than WandaVision. It gets more episodes than She-Hulk. It gets more episodes than Moon Knight or Loki or um. How many did Falcon and Winter Soldier get? I don't even remember. But
I think it was
for
6. I don't.
for some reason, Velma gets 10 episodes. WandaVision and She-Hulk both got 9. Moon Knight and Loki both got 6, and Werewolf by Night and the Guardians Holiday Special only got 50 minutes each. Which honestly, frankly, in a world that made sense, those times and episode numbers would be inverted. Like I would rather watch 9 episodes of Werewolf by Night than I would 9 episodes of She-Hulk by several orders of magnitude. But oh well, we don't live in a sensible world. We live basically in the opposite of a sensible world. Okay, anyway, Jinkies.
Yeah. I think we like looked at a teaser like a while ago, right?
We did.
All right. Yeah. Full trailer. Yay.
Yankees.
Yankees.
This is my story told my way. Yankees! My name is Velma Dinkley, and I've decided to finally share the bone-chilling events that drove me to assemble the greatest team of spooky mystery solvers ever. This is my story told my way.
And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna pull the famous meme. You, my dear, are not Velma Dinkley. I know Velma Dinkley. Velma Dinkley has been a friend of mine ever since I was a little kid. And you, madam, are no Velma Dinkley.
Where's that meme from?
The I know X character is a friend of mine meme. I've seen it all over the place. It's one of those memes that I don't think anyone does even remember where it comes from. It's just a meme that constantly replicates itself. It's a self-replicating meme. But yes, I know Velma Dinkley. Velma Dinkley is a friend of mine, and you, madam, are no Velma Dinkley. Also, outside of just the sheer memeability of saying that, I'm 90% sure that this is Mindy Kaling's self-insert version of Velma, because she has almost nothing in common with any other version of Velma. And just to give my full credentials with regards to the Scooby-Doo franchise, I have seen the original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I have seen the Red Shirt Shaggy era. I have seen the celebrity guest starring Scooby-Doo movies um, TV show. I have seen the 90s slightly more serious Scooby-Doo movies that began with um, Zombie Island and ended with either either Cyber Chase or Alien Invasion. I can't remember which. I've also seen What's New Scooby Doo and all of the movies that tie into that continuity wise. I've seen uh, um I've seen Scooby Doo and the Goblin King. I've seen Scooby Doo Monster of Mexico. I've seen Scooby Doo Music of the Vampire. I've seen like all of those. I've seen Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated. I've seen um Pup Named Scooby Doo. I've seen the live action movies, both the James Gunn ones that were actually cinematically released and the Robbie Arnell starring ones, the ones where he was Fred, which were both Scooby Doo Mystery Begins and um, Scooby Doo Curse of the Lake Monster. So I speak Scooby Doo very fluently as a franchise. I haven't seen all of the most recent ones that are like celebrity guest starring ones that don't really tie into any particular continuity. Um, I've even seen, I even remember watching Shaggy and Scooby Doo Get a Clue when it was still airing on Kids WB and the CW. So yeah, I've been around the Scooby Doo block more than my fair share of times, and every other version of Scooby Doo is at least somewhat recognizable as Scooby Doo. This is the first version of Scooby Doo that I'm genuinely convinced you couldn't show any fan of Scooby Doo and have them immediately think Scooby Doo. Like, if they didn't know this was a Scooby Doo show, you could show them this and they wouldn't know. And that's saying something when you consider that Scooby Doo got its start in the 60s and is like the archetypical time capsule of 60s ness. Like, only the Beatles are more iconically like founded in and representative of the 60s than Scooby Doo, which means that since Scooby Doo got its start in the 60s, as of as of whatever year in the 60s it came out, it will be 60 years old this decade. Because we're currently sitting in 2023, which means that Doctor Who is 60 years old, which means that Scooby Doo is just shy of 60 years old. And in those 60 years, there has been a version of Scooby Doo basically every couple of years since the original Scooby Doo Where Are You?
So my credentials.
Mm-hmm.
Reruns on Cartoon. Well, I guess it was Boomerang, not Cartoon Network. unlike the original series.
Mhm.
Back when Boomerang was its own, I guess still is the own thing, but it was free. And there was that.
Yeah, it wasn't something you had to get an app for. Uh,
Or buy with a package of TV.
although in most cases, Boomerang has always been a secondary channel you had to buy.
Anyway, what's in Scooby Doo? Like the 2000s cartoon.
Hmm.
That was actually kind of my first.
Yeah, that sort of tracks. My first iterations were reruns of the original Scooby Doo Where Are You, reruns of the Red Shirt Shaggy era,
So
and
you already said that. You already told me
the
stuff.
I know, but the like three main ones that I grew up with were the 90s movies, the Red Shirt Shaggy reruns, and the original series. I
Right.
even had the original movie or the original series on VHS, and it had those like behind the scenes with Scooby Doo character moments, like they were old fashioned celebrities. Those were fun.
Back to the thing. To prove my credentials on this,
Hmm.
reruns of the old cartoon. What's New Scooby Doo? Love the theme song, by the way. It's fun.
Scooby Doo always has an awesome theme song in basically every version.
Yeah.
Except probably this one. I don't even remember if it had a theme song or not.
Probably not. Well, it was okay. What was that? The '90s movies. I saw like reruns of them on Cartoon Network when they did those specials. Uh,
Mm.
in the 2000 movies too that were basically in continuity with, I believe the um, what's the Scooby Doo 2000 cartoon?
That is a good question. Whether Mystery Begins and
Yeah.
Lake Monster are in continuity with, because they used the theme song at the end when they were done with uh, Mystery Begins, but I'm not sure if they are like directly in continuity.
I meant the specials that had the same animation look. Of
Oh, the actual animated ones.
yeah,
The way.
yeah, 2000 ones. Uh, I haven't played like the Scooby Doo video game that was on like the Wii.
I didn't realize there was a Scooby Doo video game for the Wii. Damn.
Yeah. Also, a Pup Game Scooby Doo. I saw reruns of that growing up, like Saturday morning cartoons when they still did that thing.
Mm.
That's a good show. I really like that.
I really liked the fact that in the second James Gunn Scooby Doo movie, they implied that Pup Named Scooby Doo was in continuity with Where Are You, because they had like the classic Scooby Doo Where Are You ghost in the museum, along with what was the one that made me immediately recognize him from Pup Named Scooby Doo? I think it was Chickenstein. They referenced specifically Chickenstein, and I was like, oh hey, that means that Pup Named Scooby Doo and Where Are You are in continuity in this universe. Cool.
I also guess technically I did grow up a lot more with like the Mystery Incorporated cartoon, which I actually love, which I think that's a point of contention between us.
Yeah, I didn't. It's not that I didn't. It's not that I disliked it. It's just that I think in a lot of ways it tried to make Scooby Doo something it wasn't, and I didn't. It tried to make Scooby Doo more of a Riverdale style drama, but an animated version
Uh,
than it was.
I don't think that. I disagree with that completely, but I feel like if we try to have a discussion of that, we're gonna be here for hours.
Yeah, yeah. The whole is Mystery Incorporated a good version of Scooby-Doo or not thing is a point of
I think
contention
it just
between
really
us.
boils down to. I don't think it's complicated for me because I can understand the issues you would have with it. I can understand that. I think it's just because like it's one of the I grew up watching it like every week. That maybe I have somewhat of a bias, but I think I appreciate the amount of effort and work that was put into it, and it did seem to care a lot about Scooby Doo.
Yeah, that's one thing I can say for it that's different from Velma is that even though they were trying something new that I don't think always worked, they at least were putting in effort for trying something new that didn't always work. Also, because this is the tiniest, most petty, most vindictive, like Simpsons comic book guy level of continuity that I can throw here, there was one thing that I will never forgive Mystery Incorporated for, which is the gang are from and operate in Coolsville, not Crystal Cove.
Okay, weird nitpick. I will grant you, but okay.
But then again, it's been something that's been consistent since the '60s, so I'm taking it.
I get it. I'm just saying I'm willing to look past that because it effectively is Coolsville minus.
But I mean, that's the funny thing is before this show, the most like controversies, quote unquote, that the Scooby-Doo fandom had were Crystal Cove versus Coolsville, whether Fraggy should be wearing a red or green shirt, whether Scrappy Doo is a good character, Fred not being blonde in the Robbie Yarnell movies. Like those were the level of like basically nitpicks the Scooby-Doo fandom had. And yet we're all like universally united in the hatred of Velma. And again, it's funny because Scooby-Doo is one of those things that whether it's our grandparents' generation, our parents' generation, or our generation, and even me and Brainstormer are technically, I guess, from two different generations. Everyone grew up with some recognizable version of Scooby-Doo, whether it's the original Where Are Yous, whether it's the Red Shirt Shaggy era, whether it's the 90s movies, whether it's some combination of all of the above, whether it's Mystery Incorporated, whether it's the Robbie Yarnell movies. Like everyone has a version of Scooby-Doo that is recognizable as Scooby-Doo.
I wasn't that weird. I mean, I think for me it's kind of weird just because like I grew up with like so many different versions that I can't really say what is definitively the one I grew up with.
Yeah, I'm in the same space where I watched so many different reruns of so many different versions that basically to me it was all Scooby-Doo,
Yeah,
except for the first James Gunn movie. Monsters Unleashed was a massive improvement over the first James Gunn Scooby-Doo movie. But prior to Velma existing, I would argue that that the first James Gunn movie where Scrappy becomes a dog demon god thing was the worst iteration of Scooby-Doo, full stop. And then we got Velma, and now I feel like apologizing to James Gunn for that.
I was gonna say something. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's first 20 seconds, so I don't really have much to say, mind you. I mean, I think it's just the assertion from the character that's somewhat bothering me, but I can't really go into it much because I'm not seeing a lot here that requires me to really talk.
Yeah. So shall we jinkies?
I also realized Fred doesn't have a catchphrase.
His catchphrase is basically let's split up. That's always been Fred's meme.
Oh. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Jinkies?
Jinkies.
She has no brain! Oh, I'm not dissing her. She has no brain! And it starts with a murder. When I see something, I wish if I can't convince people I didn't kill Brenda, I'm going to be arrested.
I know, but I also know how to find out who did kill Brenda. I think it has something to do with drugs.
Wah, 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 wah.
I think, I don't know, the weirdest thing to me with this is the art style. I think I talked about this before, but I'm it's just kind of an inconsistency, I think.
Okay, speaking of inconsistencies, time for me to once again flash my Scooby-Doo lore credentials here. Yes, I'm aware that Shaggy is called Norville in this version. Unlike most people, who had an issue with this, though, I am not mad at them for changing Shaggy's name, because Norville has been Shaggy's real name at least since the Red Shirt Shaggy era, because
The fact that
I remember in Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers, several members of Shaggy's family specifically refer to him as Norville. The issue I have is that in the entire history of Scooby-Doo, again dating back to the 60s at the earliest, yes, Shaggy's name has been Norville Rogers. But the thing is, for the entire history of Scooby-Doo, Shaggy has always hated his real name because he finds it to be too old-fashioned, stuffy, and just too like gentlemanly for his personal sensibilities. So that's the issue I have, is that yes, his name has always been Norville, but no self-respecting version of Shaggy Rogers would ever allow anyone but his family to call him Norville because he hates it. Also, because once again, I'm digging into my knowledge of Scooby-Doo lore here, there's an irony with the fact that Shaggy is black. Not necessarily the race swapping itself being the issue, but because Shaggy is black now, I get to point out that for the entire prior history of Scooby-Doo, since the 60s, Mr. Norville Shaggy Rogers was descended from the Confederacy. Because in Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers, which was the Red Shirt Shaggy era from the 70s, his uncle, his rich uncle who owns an estate which used to be a plantation, is shown wearing a gray Civil War era suit in several pictures, and the ghost from that movie, the ghost, not the Boo Brothers themselves, but the ghost that Shaggy was dealing with in that movie, also wore a Confederate suit and was meant to be one of Shaggy's ancestors. So, as much as I hate giving the SJWs the ammunition here, it's funny to me you decided to make Shaggy black rather than doing what would have actually made sense, which is bitching at Shaggy for being descended from the Confederacy. Unless he still is descended from the Confederacy, and then this gets even darker, literally. Because if he's still descended from the Confederacy, you're gonna have to deal with a certain R word at some point in this continuity.
Dalton.
Yeah.
So what I was getting at is just, I don't know, like this doesn't look good to me in terms of like, I think we talked about like the art style before and stuff. It's just like it feels so flat. Like there's
Yeah.
no style or anything. Like I don't feel bad for some of the voice actors that like they're good actors.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's just weird to me. Like honestly, I don't mind if they're actually like working like actual like murder cases because that would be very interesting and kind of different.
I think it's okay. Well, actually, I can speak to that to some degree because I've seen the first 4 episodes. There's still a ghost involved in this this murder case she's working.
And I'm just saying, like, it's a different idea, and that I honestly think is interesting for the Scooby Gang to work on actual like cases, like actual legit like murder cases and investigations like that. That I'm cool with. My problem is this doesn't seem interesting because like it's not it there's no what's the word? I'm trying to think here. It's just like this is zapping my intelligence just by watching this.
Slowly dumbing down. Brainstorm.
Right, I'm just what's the word? I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind here.
Well, describe what you mean, and I'll try to fill in.
Okay. It's it's all played tongue in cheek. Well, not even tongue in cheek. It's just like it's a full on fucking parody. Effectively,
Meta.
but not even a good kind of meta. Like
No, it's meta in the worst way.
yeah, it's like it's not taking it seriously, which honestly I would have preferred because honestly,
if you're gonna do a more adult version of Scooby Doo, then by all means do a more adult version of Scooby Doo, kind of thing.
play it straight. Honestly, a lot of things need to play it straight more.
And again, the '90s movies did this well because they did, as much as possible, bring Scooby Doo to like an adult 4, and they did it right. As kind of did Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, and so did the Robbie Arnell movies to some degree. Although less, because obviously they were still teenagers in the Robbie Arnell movies. And that's the other thing. I've seen a lot of people whining that the Scooby Gang are in high school. The problem with that is that that is not the main problem. The main problem is they're not doing it correctly. We've already gotten other versions of Scooby-Doo set in high school that did perfectly encapsulate the what if Breakfast Club, but with the Scooby-Doo characters. That's kind of what Mystery Begins was. And they've done it fine. Same thing with darkening up Scooby-Doo. That's not the problem. The 90s movies did that fine. And so did the James Gunn movies, although less successfully.
Right. I was also under the impression, like, for most of them, like, even in What's New Scooby Doo, and I don't know, I don't mind that they're in high school. I've just always been under the impression that they were college kids.
I've always been on the assumption that they were high school kids, hence why they always get called meddling kids. But I don't really care one way or the other, really.
No, I don't. I was just like that in my head. That's why like they were always going around and they were like, yeah, that's why they were always traveling and stuff a lot because they were kind of like it was a whole college thing. Like they had more freedom to travel and stuff. And
basically, this is their equivalent of how some rich kids go, backpacking through Europe in their gap year for college. This is how the gang is spending their gap year for college in Brainstormer's head.
I guess so, yeah. And that's kind of what I meant, yeah.
I think canonically, they're all between like 16 and 18 in Scooby-Doo Where Are You and in most of the other versions. But then again, it is also a question of how much time passes between the various things in continuity, because we know, for example, in the continuity that begins with or that picks up after Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, they all are in their like early 20s working jobs, and they decide to get back together, and that begins that new cycle of 90s movies. Daphne is doing her Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake thing. Velma has her own bookstore. Fred is the cameraman for Daphne's show, and Scooby and Shaggy are constant fuck ups who are constantly in between jobs because they're Scooby and Shaggy. So
the Mystery Incorporated is like Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated. I love that they made Shaggy like at the end they made Shaggy like a chef. That makes a lot of sense to be fair.
That does work for Shaggy, especially in the modern world. Like I could totally see Shaggy having a food truck. The problem with Shaggy having a food truck or being a chef is that he's gonna end up eating most of his inventory, which means that his restaurant's probably not gonna stay open for very long.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we got about like a bit more.
Yeah. Shall we jinkies?
Yep. Okay.
Which I hate.
Hey, Fred.
Do I know you?
It's Velma from school.
I have a disease where I can't recognize people who aren't hot.
Is it called rudeness?
I have an illness!
Hey, Daphne. I need a favor. Why would I do that? We're not friends anymore. We're nemesis. Nemesis.
That's why.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just want to point this out. My God, I literally, as soon as Fred opened his fucking voice and talked, I literally put the motion of like a gun to my head with
Yeah, and I hate thinking in social justice terms, but it's very clear that creators did. So, is anyone surprised that the only remaining white guy is the asshole? Because they race swapped Daphne and made her Asian. They made Velma mixed race. They made Shaggy black.
So I'm gonna say something might be controversial, but I'm fine because they did the similar thing with Isaac in Castlevania. And that's more to the actor who voiced him. Granted, not great character designs. For Isaac was actually really good character design. I think the art style is kind of the issue here, obviously.
That and the underlying ideology, i.e., in Castlevania there was none. They actually managed to make it part of his character and make it work. In this show, they did it essentially out of spite because let's find every way possible to fuck with the fans. And while we're on the topic, they basically made Fred an incompetent preppy incel, for lack of a better term. And I'm sorry, but Fred has always been the most masculine member of the gang. Like, I love Shaggy too, but he's not exactly the most stereotypically manly of the gang. So to turn Fred from his classical role of, in the original series as the hero, or in more modern iterations, the jock, to whiny, rich, white asshole, for the sake of let's have a whiny, rich, right asshole character we can make fun of, who also previously happened to be the most masculine character in the show. Like, Jesus Christ.
Literally could have made Daphne that, because she's...
Yeah, like, that's what she's always been. She's always been the rich one.
Yeah, not a bitch.
Yeah, no, she's not a bitch. Very, very few iterations of... Pup named Scooby-Doo Daphne was a bit self-centered and like stereotypically rich, preppy bitch, but she was also a kid, so she's excused.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like, I admit, I remember a lot of girls I knew that were kind of like that. Not rich, mind you, but preppy and self-centered. But to be fair,
yeah, the queen bees. Like, yeah. that makes sense for Daphne because she's always been the heiress of the Blake family fortune. That's always been part of her character.
Also, what the fuck is Fred's design?
What specifically do you have a problem with? There's a lot I could say about it, but...
Well, I have a lot wrong with it. Okay, it generally, yeah, it's actually fairly similar to
because of course the asshole's the only one we leave alone, design-wise.
Maybe it's the hair that's bugging me. It's just it does not look like a hairstyle.
Because they're deliberately trying to make him both lame and like asshole-ish on purpose.
Does he have a fucking solid gold phone?
Yeah, he's rich now. Never mind that Daphne is canonically supposed to be the heiress of the Blake family fortune. Like, this has been a thing since the 60s, but Fred is the rich asshole now because we can't show one of the women be a bad character.
I mean, they kind of are without intentionally doing it.
I know, but they're deliberately making Fred the straw man for basically all of the, rich white male hetero yada 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 fucking yada, like all of the SJW targets for hate are supposedly, they're deliberately making Fred the target of all of that shit instead of keeping Daphne canonically the rich sort of type A queen bee-ish bitch that, well, not bitch, but she is basically the good all versions of Daphne are basically the good version of the preppy rich girl. And some versions lean more into her kind of being an asshole about it, like the aforementioned Pup Named Scooby Doo. But again, she was a kid for that, so I'm not holding it against her. Or in Mystery Begins, but that was also part of her character arc, was getting over that sense of entitlement.
Right. So, okay. Uh, yeah, I just think also the way this thing is, like, I don't know, like the tone just feels weird to me as well. Like, is it just me or does it feel like?
Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, the tone just feels very like off.
I think it's on purpose. They're deliberately trying to make an uncanny version of Scooby Doo to like undermine Scooby Doo as a franchise, and it's fucking pissing me off. Also, we haven't gotten to this part in the trailer yet, but they do deliberately try to undermine Fred's masculinity at every turn, even though he's supposed to be the classical hero in the original series or the jock in more modern iterations. Like, so they decided to make it so that he's not done going through puberty and has a small dick in the show. Which, side note, if that is the vibe they're going for, they've already failed because even though apparently he's not done going through puberty, he's still taller than everyone else. So if he is truly not done going through puberty, then he's going to be huge when he is finished going through puberty, which they're probably going to make fun of by making him a jock asshole, which I'm going to hate.
Hold on. Height is in relation to purity.
Generally speaking, yes.
I must have hit it pretty young then.
Well, there are some people who go through a single growth spurt, like they go from being short to being taller, and there are some people who just have continuous growth throughout their adolescence. And there are some people who, like me, basically don't grow noticeably at all, really.
I had like a huge growth spurt like in third grade, and I think I just stopped growing after that. Or, well, I don't know. I honestly never kept track of my height, but okay. So we're talking gaming.
Yeah, when I meet you, I'm bringing like a tape measure so we can finally settle this height question.
I'm pretty sure I'm taller than you, to be fair. I mean, because
yeah, but everyone is taller than me, so that's not hard.
Honestly, I don't really think it's that big of a deal, to be fair. But okay. Velma literally laughs in Shaggy's face after he confesses to her.
Yep. They're in the middle of investigating a thing in, I think it's episode 2, and Velma is afraid of something, so Shaggy tries to console her by telling her that she has feelings for him, and she takes it as a joke and laughs in his face, and he continuously tells her that he's being dead serious, and that one of the lines, and I felt so bad for Shaggy in this moment, but one of the lines is, "You are the reason I wake up every morning." And she continuously throughout like 3 iterations of him trying to genuinely confess his feelings for her, laughs in his face. It is truly one of the most awful things I've ever seen ever.
Mental age has nothing to do with puberty, says the Sometime Gaming, after like talking about how Fred hasn't gone through puberty yet and stuff.
No, I was just talking about physically how they undermine his masculinity and talk
okay.
about how his dick is small.
So I read that out of order here. Okay, like it's a point in the show he hasn't started puberty, he has no hair on his legs at all, and this is all because according to the show, he is a pampered brat who's more of a child than even a young man. Mental age has nothing to do with puberty.
Yeah, because they're literally pulling the rich white guy is the symbolic representation of the patriarchy thing.
Did you mention when we read the character descriptions? Didn't we like Daphne has two mothers who are police officers?
Yes.
Yeah,
She's not rich anymore. She's the daughter of two lesbian policemen or women.
Didn't we say it would make more sense for Fred to have the two police mothers?
Yes, it would. It would also make more sense for Daphne to maintain her since the 60s canonical connection to the Blake family fortune.
Right. Also, just before we move on, because I do think we need to, obviously. I will say, out of all of them I've seen, Daphne seems to have gotten the most redesigned. Not even just as like a race or anything, just like, just like the clothing.
I don't know. She still has her purple and orange motif going on.
No, I mean like how it looks. Like it doesn't like all the others have basically the same designs.
I think Shaggy is the worst because of not only did he get race swapped, he got hairstyle swapped.
No, I'm talking about the clothing.
Oh.
In terms of the clothing, they're very much the same, but Daphne seems to have been changed the most in terms of the clothing. Except, actually, I would have to look up an image of Daphne. Hold on, just so because to me it feels different than what I'm used to seeing from Daphne. So, just give me a second.
Yeah, okay, maybe, but I didn't notice it as much with Daphne as I did with Shag.
Yeah, because he's the most egregious.
Yeah, his hair, race or no frickin' race, Norville Shaggy Rogers.
It's the sleeves that are bugging me, I think.
Should be shaggy haired. Like you could have even given him dreadlocks if you really wanted to. Like give him long hair and dreadlocks. That would have like if you're gonna play the race card with Shaggy, at least have his hair still be fucking shaggy.
Okay, so I just pulled up an image. There are like 3 things that bug me with Japanese design. The sleeves are a different color than the actual, I guess, shirt thing.
The skirt she's wearing, kind of.
It's not a skirt. It's her torso. It's like a.
This is it. Aside from stylization or anything, this is just poorly drawn because I literally can't tell what she's supposed to be wearing.
Also, the scarf. Well, she doesn't have a scarf, actually. Well, it is. I don't know what it is. Hold on, let me get a better image, like up close one.
I don't necessarily mind the pink sleeves because I think they're supposed to be a replacement.
They're not pink. They're a light purple.
Right, but I think they're supposed to be a replacement for the stockings / like fishnets that she usually wears.
No, she has those. You didn't notice?
I don't see them when we were just looking at her legs. I didn't see them on her.
Yeah, they're there.
Okay, yeah, I guess I didn't notice it at first because I forgot she was race swapped as Asian now. So her skin tone would be a shade or two darker if they were actually her skin.
Yeah, it's like what are those called? Thigh socks or something?
I think they're still supposed to be stockings, but who
No,
the fuck
they're not.
knows?
No, but you can clearly see that they cut off at thighs.
Oh yeah, I guess she is. I guess she is wearing what do they fucking call them?
Thigh socks? I literally know. I have no idea.
I think I think they're supposed to be not Spanx. What are the things that look like pants but aren't pants? Fucking things.
No, the leggings.
Leggings. There we go.
But
Shit.
no, these are they have no they don't connect to anything. They're literally just effectively long socks.
Okay, I'm beginning to agree with you about the stupidity of this design, but more to the point, I'm more mad at the animators because stylization or no stylization, you need to make it clear what the characters are actually fucking wearing, please.
Again, I'm sorry. It's just like because I've done design before. Like I've drawn stuff. Like I used to draw a lot, so I have somewhat of an eye for things like that, and I've watched artist videos on that. So I have some idea of things. I like character design, right? Also,
Mhm.
the like she doesn't have a scarf. It's like this weird like bow thing, which could work, but it doesn't. It just kind of blends in a bit. Like it's green, but it's not like a light green. Like it doesn't pop.
Yeah. With regards to something Ahsoka said not too long ago, the thing about how when she thinks of the patriarchy, she thinks of it like a big bad evil fat cat sort of person. Um, I agree, Ahsoka, and I think that's assuming Velma goes along off long enough for Fred to actually hit puberty, and they don't just keep throwing that, driving that joke into the ground. I think that's going to be part of Fred's, and I'm using these words in the largest possible, like, air quotes, character arc, is he's going to go from this insecure incel manlet to the stereotypical toxically masculine, like Ludo type character who constantly abuses his strength. Because that's probably going to be what the joke is all toxically masculine macho dudes begin life as insecure manlets is probably the feminist logic.
Right. Also, the hairstyle bugs me too. Just because she doesn't have the headband either.
Oh, her thing that she usually puts in her hair, yeah.
Also, it matches even though like they don't have it like the side of the head shaved off. It matches like that hairstyle they really like doing.
Oh, the I lost a fight with automatic pair of clippers
Yeah.
hairstyle.
Okay, hold on. Let me move it back again just so you can see it.
It wasn't very noticeable at first, but yeah,
I am
yeah, they
I,
they kind of did it a little bit.
I am surprised you didn't notice that. Like,
Well, because normally when they do the I lost a fight with a pair of electric clippers thing, the like whole side of the head is shaved off.
no, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just saying, like, it had the same styling. Like, if you were to silhouette this, you would immediately recognize it.
A little bit, but at least they let her have her hair be long on all sides,
Right.
regardless of
It's
the little hairline thing.
yeah, it's
Like, I
weird.
guess I didn't notice it because if you look at my hair's kind of like that,
Right. That's fair.
even though it's long on all sides.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I just it clearly this is, and I'm not really. I'm speaking to someone as an artist, I suppose. Even though, like, I haven't been one in a very long time, mind you. Um, it and that's not me. I'm being honest here. I'm not trying to. I know part of you is thinking I'm depreciating myself. Not doing that.
You are a bit, but go on.
This is basically a case study in poor character design.
Yeah, and part of it is because they're trying to redesign the characters to fit the aesthetic of what they think your generation is like, what they think Zoomers are like.
Okay, that I am insulted, and fuck all you who think, like, dude, I have some style. This ain't style. This is fucking. I don't know what the fuck it is.
This is literally the artistic embodiment of how do you do, fellow kids. Literally.
Like, some of the background characters have better designs in this shot alone than Daphne.
And given that she's one of the 5 main characters, fuck all of y'all.
Like, basically, well, granted, they're basic and simple designs, but at least they're coherent. Like, kind of a big thing with character design is everything is kind of supposed to lead you to a point, which assumedly would have to be the head for the character to talk.
Yeah, because you want the eye to be caught by what you want the eye to be caught by, which is presumably the face.
You know where my eyes go to every time I'm looking at, like, Daphne?
I don't know.
I am actually scared to say this, but the legs. For some fucking reason.
Because they're kind of disproportional with her torso, I think is why. Like they don't look like they belong on the same body body asset that the torso is on.
Yeah, that is so weird. Like, the legs are almost abnormally large. Like, long.
Yeah.
Really
Now, granted, Daphne has always been leggy and attractive. Like, that's always been her thing.
That's fine, but, like,
the problem here is that it looks almost uncanny. The assets don't look like they line up.
No, yeah, okay, look, if you look at it, right, and you see where her waist is, right?
It should be like half an inch lower to line up with her legs.
Or the legs should be shorter, because if those supposed to be like toward the thighs, like where the socks end.
Yeah. Or at the least like her knees, because maybe they're knee socks. Who knows?
Either way, like, that makes her legs look so fucking, like, inhumanly long.
And again, I get that she's supposed to normally be the leggy, like, you know, the queen bee / cheerleader type, because that's always been kind of what Daphne is. And of course, under normal circumstances, she's rich and wealthy, so she can afford to primp on all sorts of beauty products, because that's Daphne. But you know.
But there's a. Okay, whatever. I'm done. It's stupid. We're moving on.
Yeah, it's just added to the list of things that this show poorly designed because they simply didn't give a fuck. They were too busy telling the entire 60-year history of Scooby-Doo to go fuck itself.
Sorry, I was looking at Velma's design. It's not bad, but I don't know, the boots are kind of throwing me off for some reason.
Yeah, speaking of assets being disproportional, I know Daphne is supposed to be tall, but I've never seen the height difference between Daphne and Velma be that extreme.
No, I'm not talking about the height difference. I'm talking about, like, legitimately her boots. Like, I've just never seen Velma wear boots. That's what's weirding me out. Also, the color. It's just like, it's a really dark red. I don't know.
And yeah, and they don't even look red. They look brown, which is weird because normally, Velma's shoes are the same color as her skirt because consistent character model.
Right. Anyway, we gotta move on.
Jinkies.
For all you wondering why the police have not yet caught the serial killer, it's because it's a ghost.
Jinkies!
this one of those doors where you push in a brick and it opens?
Wait!
I have a plan.
I love danger.
To be fair, that is the only time in this entire trailer or in any of the episodes that I've seen so far that Fred has acted like Fred. Because while I love Fred dearly, he's always been kind of a ditz when it comes to investigating things. Because, like, a good 40% of Daphne's danger-prone reputation comes from the fact that Fred always pairs himself with Daphne when they split up, and when they're investigating, Fred turns his back to look at something, and poor Daphne gets sucked into a trapdoor or a secret room and gets like put in a dangerous state of affairs. Like if you go back and watch Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Like 40% of all of danger prone Daphne's danger proneness comes from the fact that Fred gets so enamored with the thing he's investigating that he basically just forgets what else is going on around him. So that is the closest thing that this show has to Fred acting like Fred. It's next to nothing. It's not an important aspect of his character, but at least it's something. I'm reaching for any lifelines I could be handed here.
Grasping at straws.
Literally, like begging for anything that resembles the characters acting like the characters.
I don't like the music for this trailer.
No, it's too. Again, it very much has the same vibe of How Do You Do, Fellow Kids.
Yeah, it's just
like this is what the modern music is, right, kids? No,
dude, I fuck anyone who thinks that. Like, I have listened. Actually, I don't really listen to modern music. I find most of it to be fucking annoying and goddamn just downright soulless.
So maybe it is canonical. Who knows?
Well, to be fair, I don't know. I grew up on like more classic stuff, you know.
Yeah. Ditto.
Yeah.
Although
I
imagine I listened to a lot more country than you growing up because of where I am from.
My grandmother was big in the country.
Oh dear.
I don't particularly. It depends. It has to be a very special kind of.
Yeah, I'm the same way where like I don't mind country, and there are some country songs that I actually genuinely really like Kenny Rogers, Kenny Rogers the Gambler, anything by Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah, Johnny Cash. God damn, that is the king of country there.
Yeah. But like modern country most often annoys me to some degree.
I think okay, so it's like it's kind of two genres for me, which is like dark country, kind of a mix of like rock and country, I guess you'd say, and yeah, no, actually just dark country, I suppose.
Yeah, like and again, it's not a every country song thing, but in general, it has to be something special for me to actually be able to tolerate country.
Yeah. I think they're having Velma twerking right now. And I'll say this as I said it before. No one looks good twerking. No one.
No.
It's not sexy. It is not anything. It is...
and the funny thing is, most of the time when twerking is used in a thing, it's literally supposed to draw attention to the fact that twerking is awkward. It's not supposed to look sexy or enticing.
Okay,
twerking basically exists as a meme that will not die, as a like cliche, like a stereotype of things that people do when they're clubbing that no one looks good doing and everyone finds to be over the top and cringy.
I was in high school. Well, I was in school when twerking was like at its height.
Oh dear.
No one looks good at twerking. No one. Not even the hot ones.
And I can speak from, the gay male perspective here. Guys don't look good twerking either. No one looks good twerking. No one.
That's what I said. I wasn't talking about just females. No one looks good twerking.
Yeah, but you mentioned the hot ones, and I was backing you
Yeah.
up there because the hot guys don't look good twerking either.
Yeah, I meant everyone. Like,
Yeah, twerking needs to die.
If-
It is this generation's equivalent to the Macarena, and quite frankly,
I
for as
like.
annoying as the Macarena was when I would, before I was even necessarily old enough to care about dance moves, I would take the Macarena back in a heartbeat if it meant no more twerking ever.
I like the Macarena.
Yeah, I kind of have a soft spot for it too, but for a while there, it was basically an artifact of the '90s that needed to die. It, like I say, it was kind of the '90s equivalent of twerking,
Anyway,
and I never thought I would say this, but twerking makes the Macarena look good by comparison.
not really saying much.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Of course, twerking makes what I do instead of dancing look good by comparison, and
This-
I literally am disabled.
this is why I just stick with doing the robot. It's easy, and honestly, you can't look bad doing it.
This is true. No one looks bad doing the robot. Everyone looks bad twerking. These are the rules. These are the laws of dancing physics.
Anyway, shall we?
Jinkies.
Jinkies.
You might have more success with this if you went in just a little less judgy. Okay, Daphne, I'm the brains of this operation. You're just the look, style, and effortless charm. We do make a good team.
I legitimately, is there any
Like,
alcohol
okay,
in this house? Hold on, I'm gonna go.
go ahead. You go first, and then I will go.
No, I was gonna say I might actually go find some alcohol if we have any.
Oh dear. What have you done, you miserable waste of animation and writing? Like, seriously though, yes, we all know that Velma is the one who does the majority of the work with regards to like the actual mystery solving. We all know that she's the brains. We all know that she's the most detective of all of the of like she is the mystery solving component of Mystery Incorporated. We know this. Everyone knows this. Everyone has known this since the '60s. Thank you very fucking much. Having her actually say it makes her come off as an arrogant bitch because it it registers that she doesn't appreciate the contributions that the other characters make, and that is something that Velma in every other iteration would never do, because while she is the one who does the majority of the work, she values her friends for being there for her if nothing else, and she does know that even Scooby and Shaggy, whose basic contribution is be there to bumblefuck their way into catching the ghost when Fred's trap inevitably fails, because that's always been the joke, is that Fred's trap inevitably fails, and through some madcap accident, prone foolishness, Scooby and Shaggy will manage to capture the ghost anyway. Like, that's always been the joke. So, like, even Scooby and Shaggy's over the top foolishness comes in handy with regards to Mystery Incorporated. So, like, and this is a problem that I've seen in every social justice based thing. But dear writers of modern social justice phenomena, you can have a character be intellectually superior, but it's kind of important to the likability of that character that they not also be morally superior. In fact, it's an almost inverse thing. The more intellectually superior a character is, the less sanctimonious and morally superior they have to act. It's better, actually, when the smartest person in the room is kind of a self-aware asshole. Think of Dr. House from House. Think of John Constantine. Think of Rick Sanchez. You can have a character have the moral high ground, and you can have a character have the intellectual high ground, but it's very hard for a character to have both, because generally speaking, when you try to have a character who already has the intellectual high ground also be sanctimonious and morally superior and have the moral high ground, they come off as arrogant and stuffy and bitchy. Not saying you can't have a character who is simultaneously, the morally correct character and the intellectually correct character, but the one thing that an intellectually correct and morally correct character needs, or frankly, just a morally correct character in general needs, is humility. It's better off for everyone when you're writing a character. The more morally pure that character is, the less arrogant they get to be about it. Because humility makes characters automatically sympathetic when they're morally pure. Confidence only looks good on the likable asshole, generally speaking. You can have a character be a likable asshole, but you can't also have them be on the moral high ground. Because people on the moral high ground who are attempting to be the likable asshole just come off as the stuck-up bitch. Whether it's the Helen Lovejoy, I'm a moral Puritan style stuck-up bitch, or whether it's the modern phenomena of the Karen. When a character is arrogant and morally superior, they will always come off as a stuck-up bitch. And generally speaking, we want to see morally superior stuck-up people fail. We like to see humble, morally good characters succeed because they're humble and therefore they deserve elevation. But when arrogant people are also morally superior people, the only purpose they serve in the narrative generally is to fail miserably so we can watch them fail and enjoy the schadenfreude of watching them fail. That's why, for example, Tony Stark works as a character, because he's intellectually superior, but he's not morally superior. Whereas Captain Marvel does not work as a character, because she simultaneously is arrogant and morally superior, and therefore we like to see her fail to be brought down a peg. And that's also why Captain America works, because even though Captain America is the most morally perfect character you can imagine having, he's also humble to a fault and almost never sanctimonious, and therefore we like to see his humility rewarded by having him be in the right. Anyway, I've rambled that off, but Jinky.
I'm back. No, I didn't. I just grabbed the water.
Okay.
I legitimately, what I was thinking about trying to find some alcohol.
Someday when we meet up, I'm bringing a bottle of mead and you're sharing it with me.
Probably not.
Your compliance isn't a factor, to quote Sal.
I'm punching you in the face because I do not drink, no matter what.
Trust me, as someone who avoids drinking when possible, one drink won't kill you.
I'm more just worried since the fact that I don't really drink, the possibility that I will get drunk almost immediately from one drink might happen.
If you drink slowly enough, that doesn't happen. And I, as your best friend, would keep an eye on you when we do this. But it's important to me for like friendship XP points that when we meet up in real life, we share a drink. So your compliance isn't a factor, but I will keep an eye on you to make sure you don't get too drunk.
Okay.
Martin will probably jokingly encourage you to drink more because he'll think you're a pussy for not drinking enough, but I will, if that happens, I'm telling him to go fuck himself.
Okay, we're. I just noticed that there's an FU in the center of the screen. Like apparently it's etched into the cement of the school foundation, I think.
Yeah, gee, show creators, tell us how you really feel.
Well, in universe, it obviously is like "fuck you, school," which I get.
Yeah, fair enough. Everyone who's ever been in a high school hates being in a high school, but still.
But obviously, but the meta thing,
Yeah.
it's fairly obvious.
It's in the center of the shop. Our eyes are drawn to it, so it's very obviously the show itself telling its audience to go fuck itself. Which again, show creators, tell us how you really feel.
It isn't even lined up correctly. This shot. What the? Oh my god!
Basic technical fail number 1775.
The angle is so bad. Like you could tell that the characters don't.
It doesn't look like they're. It doesn't even like in terms of their character models look like they're sitting in a comfortable angle.
No,
Like it looks like they're both about to fall over in their respective.
Look at Velma. She's casting a shadow, and yet she has no darkness around her, like outlining her or anything. Like, do people not know how lighting works?
I mean, I get that people don't often pay attention to shadows in environments. I mean,
here's the thing. You never when you actually watch a show like an animation or something, especially like 2D, like this is. You don't notice the shadows unless they're not there.
Right.
This is what's happening. Okay, there's clearly no effort was put into this, or very little effort was put into this, and it's very telling.
Yeah, and meanwhile, while the animation is failing at basic competency, NFU is right there in the center of the frame.
Like the background doesn't. It looks like a fucking photo.
It literally looks like someone is using like map painting, and the characters are the only moving models in the frame.
Like that should work, but there's no dimension to anything.
Yeah, but in 2022, without the necessary level of detail paid attention to, this is what happened.
There is no. I have seen independent animators do better fucking things. Cinematic shit.
Yeah, but they're not interested in quality. They're interested in burning the Scooby-Doo franchise while its fans watch.
Okay, let's continue before I put my fist through my monitor.
Yeah. Jinkies.
Actually, my computer, because my computer and monitor are the same fucking thing.
Yeah, but in any case, Jinkies before Brainstormer hulks out.
All right, yeah.
Don't we? In this day and age, you can't speculate about someone's sexuality unless they're famous or Peppermint Patty.
I hate every fucking thing about this.
This is just the worst thing. It's just the like. Santa Inc. was previously the worst thing ever. I think this might top it.
What is the weirdest thing about that is that is a concept that could have worked. If it actually had people on it that actually cared.
They're all concepts that could work if people were interested in making them work, but they're not interested in making them work. They're interested in doing everything they can to not make them work and wonder why people aren't watching.
I don't get it. I don't.
They're not interested in creating a good product. They're interested in burning Scooby-Doo as an IP to the ground, like Nero at a concert. Jesus fucking Christ.
Also, the weird thing that they did with like implying the Velma and Daphne getting together.
It's not an implication. They get together by episode 2.
Oh yeah, okay. I mean I don't mind it. I just You said episode 2, so there's no real fucking build up to it. It just happens.
Well, okay, after the scene where Velma is the absolute worst asshole possible to Fred or Shaggy, when he confesses his feelings for her and she laughs in his face repeatedly, she realizes that she's not really attracted to men, and then she goes and hooks up with Daphne.
That is so asinine.
Yep.
I mean, okay, if to be fair, maybe it's just what I remember watching of Mystery Incorporated, like looking back on it.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, Velma strikes me as bisexual. If we want,
Velma has always registered to the fandom as gay. Like, it's always been kind of the running joke that Shaggy is a stoner, Velma is gay, and that Fred and Daphne were gonna wind up together.
Yeah, no, but obviously, I'm going off what I remember of Mystery Incorporated. She dated Shaggy, and so and she had like a very close friendship with a girl named Hot Dog Water, or Marcy was actually her actual name.
Yeah. The one that was played by another Velma actress or voiced by another Velma actress.
Right. But to be fair, given that for the last decade or so, I've just kind of assumed if I ever thought about her sexuality, which is granted not often because it doesn't matter. Well, by that I mean it doesn't matter to the character because her relationships never really are a factor. Weird thing is, like, Shaggy has more game than most of the gang. I just realized that.
Yeah, like he winds up with the alien in Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders, for example, which I really wish they could have made that work. That they were an adorable couple.
Right. Yeah.
The only men I've ever seen Velma be attracted to in any iteration of Scooby-Doo is like 2 or 3 times she's wound up with Shaggy for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Scooby-Doo and the Witches Go, she has an obvious crush on Ben Ravencroft before he becomes dark magic powered and loses his fucking mind.
Right. Also, that James Gunn movie.
Oh yeah, the guy that was like the red herring for Monsters Unleashed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've just always assumed again bisexual.
I don't see any problem with that. And honestly, in the Robbie Ardell Scooby-Doo movies, I got the same kind of vibe between Fred and Shaggy. Because in all the scenes where like Fred is trying to be supportive, there's very much a very almost meet cutie vibe to it. And then there's the one scene at the end of Curse of the Lake Monster where Shaggy accidentally falls off the building and Fred catches him, and they literally, like, obviously it's meant to parallel what happened earlier in the movie with him and Daphne, but they still do the like cutesy romantic thing, and it very much registers. Huh?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what to say that, but
that would be funny. A version of Scooby-Doo where Velma and Daphne wind up together and Fred and Shaggy wind up together.
Well, the thing I was going to say was, so like I said, like I was asking before, there's no build up to the Station Moon relationship in the show now.
Like they were friends for a while before, and then as the trailer alluded to, they stopped being friends because Daphne became stuck up and Velma became sanctimonious and was constantly correcting people because she's an arrogant bitch.
Right.
And then once their friendship is kind of rekindled in episode 1, and after the thing with Shaggy happens in episode 2, then they're like, let's see where this goes, and then they sleep together. But it's not a relationship really, or at least it hasn't really been a relationship as yet. It's just they had a moment where they slept together, and it's treated as kind of a, well, that was interesting. Next.
Okay, I guess I could see that. It's weird to me
It's
because
still very stupid. Like it's very anticlimactic on purpose, and it pisses me off either way. But like, yeah.
I'm just.
Granted, there are 6 more episodes, so who knows? They might do a will they won't they thing with Velma and Daphne now, but who knows?
Oh, not.
Because that would be a competent writing thing to do, but whatever.
I hate this. I hate this so much.
Uh-huh. And you haven't even watched it yet. This is just the trailer. It gets worse in the actual show, trust me.
I'm never gonna watch that. You realize that, right?
I know. I will because
You hate it.
Well, I will because someone needs to rip in a new asshole, and I'm probably gonna put a video up on Englantine's movie channel about it. But still, yee.
Yeah.
Also because I have so much, like, as I mentioned to Brainstormer before we came on, I had so much rage about Velma a couple days ago that I literally had to get the 7-day free trial for the Boomerang app, just so I could watch Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost again to remind myself why I love Scooby-Doo. And what that ultimately did was it did successfully rekindle why I love Scooby-Doo in me, but that just made me more pissed off because now I realize that there's something to be lost in this iteration.
We have 2 more things after this. So again, we have to move it
Yeah,
on.
Jinkies.
I mean, we only got 30 seconds left or so. So, yeah, Jinkies.
The rules feel a bit muddy.
Muddy? Oh, sorry, I'm not a drunk on the verge of losing custody like every other woman solving murders these days. All our classmates are idiots, so let's assume they're high.
You know what 420 is, right?
Yeah, it's code for adults who still watch cartoons.
Oh, so much fuck you. So much fuck you, darling. That's just...
That's
an infinite supply of never-ending fuck you. You sanctimonious non-Velma character, you. Because that's the thing. This character is so different from every other iteration of Velma that I refuse to call her Velma. She's Mindy Kaling's self-insert character. And speaking as someone who has done a considerable amount of work on a self-insert character and a boyfriend for said self-insert character, there's a way to do self-inserting correctly, and you have failed at anything resembling doing self-inserting correctly.
You know, the weird thing is, again, I kind of grew up mostly with, I remember mostly Mystery Incorporated, and the Velma in that was sassy. And to be fair, I think Velma has always been sassy, right?
Yeah, she's always been unafraid of jabbing with dry humor things.
Yeah. Oh, she was more sarcastic in that one, I think.
Yeah, because she's the smart girl, so she can afford to be like dry and smart about things.
Yeah. But she wasn't, again, like you said, a bitch about it, you know.
Yeah, she wasn't arrogant, she wasn't morally superior, and she appreciated the contributions made to the team dynamic of her friends.
Right. I will
the most she ever did in Scooby-Doo Where Are You was occasionally make fun of Daphne for being danger-prone Daphne, but that was something everyone did. And she occasionally made fun of Shaggy and Scooby for either being cowards or being accident-prone and yet winding up in the middle of the ghost danger. But then again, everyone did that. So
yeah, it's Vomit. That's what we're gonna call it.
It's just I and here's the thing. Like I said at the beginning, you, my dear, are not Velma Dinkley. I know Velma Dinkley. Velma Dinkley is a longtime friend of mine, and you are not. Like that's the other thing. Is there have been probably like 50 different iterations of Scooby Doo over the years. I mean, you take original Scooby Doo, or you take Red Shirt Shaggy era, you take um 90s slightly more serious movies, beginning with Zombie Island, ending with um either Invader or Cyber Chase. You take Pup Named Scooby Doo. You take What's New Scooby Doo. All the movies and stuff associated with that. You take um the live action ones, um both the Robbie Arnell ones and the James Gunn ones. You take Shaggy and Scooby to get like all of these iterations, and they're all somewhat recognizable. You know, Mystery Incorporated. So like the new ones that basically are not tied to any continuity, but they're constantly making like celebrity guest star movies out of them. Like you take all of these versions and you show them to anyone from like our grandparents' generation to our parents' generation to my generation to brainstormers to everyone in between, and they'd all be recognizable as, oh yeah, that's the Mystery Inc. gang, or that's the Scooby gang. And yet this version does everything so wrong that it's the one version in the like 50 versions that have existed up until this point
Uh,
that aren't recognizable as the characters anymore.
Well, also, remember Be Cool Scooby Doo?
Oh yeah, that was the one that was like between the uh Mystery Incorporated and the like new one-off continuity.
Yeah, I never got to see. I didn't turn into it because the art style kind of just.
Yeah, it buggered itself. But yeah, I know that one too.
Also, Chrononaut, you're a sick, twisted individual, which honestly is not news.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
things that are aware. But what did he say?
I really don't want to say it.
This is not progressive. Velma should be with. Oh, okay. Fan theory time with regards to how a version of Scooby Doo is going to wind up in this show.
Was
Because
it?
I didn't notice this until just having rewatched it just now. But I wonder if the person who's stealing all the people's brains is gonna wind up like Frankensteining all their brains together in a dog body, and that's gonna wind up being Scooby. That would be a dark, edgy, adult, quote unquote, version of why Scooby can talk. I wonder.
I don't think they're smart enough to do that. To be fair.
No, but I'm trying to make some kind of sense out of this, and they gave me basically nothing to go on. But if I were for some reason condemned to the circle of hell that worked on this show, and someone asked me how should we bring Scooby in here in an edgy quasi Riverdale-ish sort of way, I'd go, okay, we have this person stealing all these people's brains, so have them combine all these people's brains into one brain and stick said brain into the body of a dog,
Right.
and then Scooby, there.
So on to more things that will make us somewhat depressed.
Oh God.
This is something I chose.
Yep. For once, Brainstormer wasn't solely in charge of the one that's not gonna make us want to kill ourselves. He found something.
Well, to be fair, it popped up when I recommended season 1 trailer for Gotham Knights. Don't worry, it's only a minute 10, so
Eep.
I have something to say, mind you, but I honestly don't think we're going to spend too much on this.
No, I mean, is anyone convinced that Gotham Knights is going to be anything but dead on arrival? It looks worse than everything CW has ever done.
I legitimately thought it was already canceled, to be fair.
Yeah, no, they're not being that merciful. Although, speaking of things I rewatched recently, I rewatched because I've been on a Dr. Fate kick for a while. Ever since Black Adam, at least. Granted, it doesn't take much to set me on a Dr. Fate kick, but I rewatched the Absolute Justice two-parter of Smallville, i.e., the one where the new kids meet the Justice Society one,
Mhm.
and something occurred to me, which is every single episode of Smallville looks better than any of the episodes that the CW has done after like Arrow and The Flash season 3. Like the first 3 or so seasons of The Flash and Arrow were all right, and like the first season of Legends of Tomorrow was all right, but everything else looks infinitely worse than a show that got its start in like 2003 and went until 2011. That should be horrifying to people, but
Sure, it wasn't 2000 that it got started.
I think it was like 2001 maybe, because I know it went on for 10 seasons, and I know that it ended in 2011, so it must have been 2001.
Okay. Give me. I want to check this. I just want to make sure we fact check this.
Yeah. IMDb. The superpower of I will look it up on IMDb.
2001. I just looked it up on Google.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're talking about a show that got released in 2001, and everything that the CW has done since Smallville looks worse than Smallville, DC related.
I might have an idea on
With
why.
the possible exception of Superman and Lois, that at least looks okay.
I might have an idea on why it looks not as good. Well, like the certain CW shows don't look as good. It could be the cameras they were using are different.
That is possible too, but I just chalk it up to nobody cared for the most part, because that's usually the difference. That's usually the variable that makes all the difference. People who made Supernatural cared enough to know what they were doing, and the people who made everything that tried to basically rip off Smallville did not care, and therefore it all looks like shit.
Anyway, shall we?
Bet Nana.
Not now.
Petty theft, grand larceny, assault. Are you
The things I'd like to do to the Velma creators.
Is that why you murdered Batman?
I am gonna find who did this.
There's no Batman who's gonna solve the murder of Bruce Wayne. They think I killed my dad because I want to.
So I have a few issues.
By all means, take the floor. The floor is yours.
Well, the color grading, obviously. I mean, it's become more of an issue lately. It's weird because like some of the shows beforehand, like some of the early days, like in the early 2000s, they actually had pretty good color grading. I mean, it was gritty, like for Arrow.
Again, behold Smallville as another example.
So can I?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, continue. Sorry.
It's like hell. I'll even argue Batwoman had some good color grading.
Yeah,
So-
it at least visually looked good for the most part.
This is just like it's very dingy and gray. Like it doesn't even have that weird blue filter like Titans has. You know?
Or the like ordinary world parts of the Magicians also kind of had that blue everything is normal filter on.
Honestly, I'd say there's a greenness to it.
Yeah, fair. It does look very green.
Yeah. Also, like anyone else notice flatness of it, like the lighting and stuff? Granted, that's fair. Although I don't know. This has some interesting lighting to it. Like I'm talking technical right now, mind you. I'm just
It also looks very cheap. Like, and that is a meaningful criticism because you don't have to look cheap in order to be cheap. And many independent sh- like short films or fan films
I
have managed to look not cheap
I think
while in
I,
fact being cheap.
I think again the issue is obviously the color grading makes it very much emphasizes like the sets and stuff that are made kind of cheap.
Well, I mean, it literally looks like they're filming the scene in a basement somewhere. Like they put a light in a basement, and now they're filming the like interrogation scene.
Yeah, it's weird. If I had some editing equipment, I could try and do something, but
I probably could do it on my phone. I just have to go through literally every frame and adjust it with my phone. But
yeah, I think
I don't care enough about this to do that though.
there. Not Batman named Grab for cash. I mean, to be fair, there was a team called Gotham Knights. I believe there was a comic series called Gotham Knights, like in the early 2000s or something,
There was.
which I believe had Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown on it. Again, I'm going off limited knowledge here, so if anyone feels like helping me out with this, I would
Yeah, no,
appreciate it.
Gotham Knights existed, but
Or correct me if I'm making.
yeah.
So I again, like everyone has said this, and I think I've said it too. Like again, it's and you've said this too. Superhero Riverdale minus the superhero part.
Yeah, and that's even kind of insulting to Riverdale because for as much as everything needing to rip off Riverdale is annoying, Riverdale, at least when it first got started, put effort in. Same thing with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It at least
Uh,
put effort in.
Brand damage increasing, says Chrono. I don't know if it's gonna damage the branding.
Yeah, DC at this point is just on life support, waiting for someone to pull the fucking plug. And
Um,
it looks unfortunately like James Gunn, rather than resuscitating it like we all hoped, might end up doing exactly that.
um, that's for next week.
Yep. James, why?
Like, it's weird. Like, see, I have a weird thing with this. Like, it's not Batman. I I don't I don't mind that there's no Batman in it, mind you. I do think it is stupid that they're starting off with killing Batman again.
Yeah.
But I also realize because they have that certain constriction with like you can't have Batman, even though they have a Superman show now. It's
Yeah, Warner Brothers is a clusterfuck. We're all aware of this.
The thing is, I just don't think they're going about it the right way because I'm literally rewriting Gotham Knights. This whole like I've literally spawned my own DC CW universe. It's super weird, by the way. I'm just gonna point that out. It's super fucking weird.
Yeah, and before Brainstormer goes off into his pitch for this,
No,
I just want to point out something that I just noticed, which is it's not that they're using it's not that they're using minor characters that aren't Batman in like in Gotham or in like Batman's sphere of influence. It's not that they're using characters who aren't Batman and excluding Batman. It's that they're treating them like minor characters. And what I mean by that is this is something the MCU and to some extent the most recent crop of the DC movies before James Gunn gunned them down was good at, which is the minor characters aren't minor because they deserve to be. They're minor because no one pays attention to them. Which means if you put the effort in, if you make them, if you give them a fair shake, if you treat them like they're equal in importance to the major characters, people will give them a chance, and then very often you'll see them become on par with the major characters. Like for example, in Black Adam, keeping it within DC, Black Adam wasn't even the standout character in his own movie. The character that everyone said was the MVP in Black Adam was Pierce Brosnan as Kent Nelson's Dr. Fate, which, by the way, for me as a Dr. Fate fan, was cathartic as all hell, but that's not the point. The point is, if you give every character a fair shake and treat them like they are to be respected, very often you'll convince people that they're worthy of respecting.
Right. I think also the issue is it is a detective story, which I'm cool with, which obviously is Batman's whole thing. But there's no, from what I've seen, there is no extra elements that add to that story that makes it a unique one in terms of a detective story. You know, like there's no supervillains. There tends to be no metahumans or anything.
And that's probably mostly for budget reasons, but
right, I agree. I'm just saying, like, even to be fair, Batman should be pretty easy, even on a shoestring budget. Like, I've seen a lot of fan films that have done really good stuff on a
yeah. And Constantine was very good, even though they were, relatively speaking, on a shoestring budget.
Right.
But that requires putting in extra effort. You either have money or you have effort, or ideally both. Right. But if you're not willing to compensate for your lack of resources with effort, it's going to look like shit.
Right. Anyway, shall we bat Nana? Actually, no. That doesn't. It doesn't deserve it. It doesn't deserve bat Nana.
We shall bat Nana.
No, it doesn't deserve it. It doesn't.
I'm aware, but its lack of deservingness isn't the issue. It's our professional integrity that's the issue. So bat Nana.
Fair enough. Bat Nana.
Money?
I'm Robin. We have to go.
We're gonna find who really killed my dad.
Look around. A bunch of thieves turned fugitives. Joker's delusional daughter. A sidekick. Batman's orphan. Anybody want to give me a crash course on being a vigilante?
Hold on a fucking minute here. Joker has a daughter, and that wasn't the headline. Presumably she's Joker and Harley's daughter, so that wasn't the headline. What the fuck?
It's Dula Dent, the girl who claims to be Joker's daughter, but no one actually really knows.
Well, her name is Dent, so I'm immediately thinking she's Two-Face's daughter, but that's,
she's a weird character in the comics.
That's stupid.
Okay,
added to the list of stupid things.
They might change that. I don't know. Here's the weird thing. I don't dislike any of the actors. They're doing their best. Right? I mean, considering the Joker's daughter was Dent's daughter. Was that in the comics? Because I've done minimal research on. Go back to the OG Teen Titans comics. Okay.
Okay, so I'm not completely losing my fucking mind. Yay.
Right. Okay. I feel bad for the actors because I think they're doing their best, but it's that the show is set up in such a weird and honestly stupid way that you just.
Yeah, I don't really see much potential in the actors, but I wonder how much that is the directors not giving a fuck. Because a lot of a really good director or a really good writing staff or creative staff can get a good performance out of even just a mediocre actor.
So this very quick cut trailer that's only like a minute long, so I don't think we're going to see really.
Yeah, but I'm not watching Gotham Knight to confirm this. I don't have the patience.
Right. Okay. Teen Titans comics, but. Then it was revealed that she was actually the Riddler's daughter from Universe 3. Oh, okay. So, like, the Crime Syndicate of America and stuff, yeah.
What the... Okay, that's...
Comics are weird. We know this.
Yeah, I know, but it's like... her name is Dent. She should be Two-Face's daughter if she's anyone's daughter.
well, to be fair, that's Dula Dent from Earth 3. So
Okay, but is there something in Earth 3 where Harvey Dent becomes the Riddler instead of Two-Face?
this happening years after the OG Teen Titans comics. Okay. Again, comics are weird. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. It's fucking confusing. Okay, let's
Yeah.
admit to that.
Yeah, but it shouldn't need to. It shouldn't need to be this confusing. God damn it. Bat Nana.
It was a retcon of Harvey Dent's daughter. Okay.
Okay, so I'm not. Yay! I'm not going insane. I feel like I'm going insane. Not going insane.
I feel bad for Misha Collins because he doesn't even get to play like legit Two-Face.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm gonna say something heretical here. I'm gonna say something heretical. Maybe it's just because he was really well handled in The Dark Knight, but I actually find Harvey Dent pre-Two-Face more interesting than Two-Face as a character.
To be fair, I don't think anyone's really given Two-Face as a character himself a fair shake.
This is true. No one has ever actually even Aaron Eckhart's version wasn't really much of a Two-Face. He was only Two-Face for the third act and wasn't even much of one.
Okay. No, she just adopted the name of Two-Face's daughter. That was really the only reason why she used the last name Dent. God damn it.
Why?
Okay. To be fair, I think the only character that really stood out to me is the actress who is playing Dula Dent or the Joker's daughter. Various other names she's gone by, which one I have chosen for her, which is Card Queen. In my remake.
I'm in pain. My ability to not go insane is slowly ebbing away from me. Please.
I'm sorry.
Make it stop.
A daughter that was thought to be. God damn it, man. Okay, we get it. It's confusing as fuck. That's confusing character. Honestly, if it was like the Joker thing of like multiple origins and stuff, I could understand that.
Yeah, but it's like, so she's the Riddler's daughter, but she's not the Riddler's daughter, but she's Two-Face's daughter, but she's not, and now she's the Joker's daughter, but she's not, but she's not, but she's not, and now I'm just like, I just want to go home.
Right. It's weird that they have Carrie Kelly as Robin here, which is also race swapped. Apparently, I don't mind that if the actress is good.
Yeah,
enough.
the race swapping is the least of the show's problems here. My question is, does that mean this is the Dark Knight Returns continuity?
Doesn't look right. I mean, her character does have multiple stories across like 4 decades. Fair enough.
God damn it.
40 years though, that's impressive. I think she was also Jason Todd.
I mean, to be fair, everyone is coming up on some remarkably long threshold here, because I mean, even Hulkling and Wiccan for Marvel, I believe, first showed up in 2013, and we're their 10th anniversary is coming up here shortly.
I thought it was in the 2000s.
Hulkling and Wiccan, or at the very least, like Children's Crusade was 2013, which is when they became a thing or an item.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the characters themselves.
I'd have to go back and look at specifically when the individual character showed up, but yeah, Hulkling and Wiccan's 10th anniversary outside of continuity is coming up even, and they're fairly new, so yeah.
Okay, so Dula, she basically has had multiple backstories, and some have retconned others, so it is a confusing mess. Joke's daughter is at least turned 60 years old this year. So Joker's daughter, the concept, I assume, than Dula Dent specifically.
Okay, so that brings up the question of who was the mother then, because I initially thought this was a thing that happened after Joker and Harley were a thing, but Harley wasn't a thing until after she appeared in in the Paul Dini Bruce Timm era, and everyone fell in love with her. So like,
Okay.
So Harley is not the mother, which brings up the question of who the hell is the mother then?
Could be just some random lady. Anyway, I think the weirdest thing that kind of bugs me about this is that there are no costumes. Just everyone in
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, we're trying to be superheroes without actually being. And to be fair, once again, and this is fresh in my mind because I recently rewatched the episodes, they kind of alluded to that in Smallville when they introduced the JSA, that the JSA were more of a secret society and less of a superhero team. That works because they were kind of playing with the like 40s like sort of pulp hero / mafia thing rather than superheroes, which worked. So you can do heroes but not you can do superheroes but not superheroes. You just have to be really smart about it. The problem being this show and Smart parted company a long time ago.
So when we get done with this Three-Face, but in other they do not know. You're gonna have to give some more explanation.
I assume that's an answer to my question about the mother.
Anyway, shall we?
Yep. Bat Nana.
We will no longer live in fear.
Their new heroes are also their most wanted fugitives.
Time to pick a side.
Gotham Knights. New series premieres Tuesday, March.
Isn't it weird? But this feels like a really shitty version of the CW Birds of Prey show.
A bit.
Which is weird because that actually had some style to it.
Yep. And again, it's a shame that you would think the modern one, by virtue of having more resources and the superhero genre being more important than it's ever been pop culture wise, you would think the modern version would have more effort put in and more style put in, but nope. Even as the genre is at its highest peak in 100 years, the effort is less than half of what it was back when they were making freaking Smallville 20 years ago. God damn, I hate living in a world of dilapidation and filth and lack of effort. I really do. Just why? Like I want to go back to a world where I looked forward to things. Oh, I hate this so much. Forward to an eventual Dr. Fate trilogy because of how well he did in Black Adam, because James Gunn gunned down the DCEU continuity.
Right. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Posted in Discord. It's firm Wikipedia. Hart says her father was Jokester and Three-Face Dula Dent is her mother. Earth 3. Okay, so she is from Earth 3.
Okay.
Right, okay, so that would be the version of Two-Face from Earth 3, which, it's the one where Crime Syndicate of America and stuff.
Right, okay, so
the Jokester, good guy version of the Joker. So.
Right, okay, yes. Now I'm remembering who was Three-Face in that.
Dula Dent, I believe. So I think she was. Oh, Evelyn Dent. Okay, my bad. Dula is the daughter. Okay.
Okay. Dent. So, yeah, that makes more sense now.
Okay,
Thank God. Thank all the gods and all the pantheons. I can now stop beating my head against a metal wall.
Right, but it kind of sucks to me, because you can do a show that is set within a Batman universe without Batman. Like, I mean, Batman
that doesn't feature Batman as a main character. Yeah. there's enough lore and continuity and characters that you could literally make a Bat Family show that would focus on like Dick Grayson, Nightwing, Jason Todd,
Right.
Tim Drake,
Uh,
all those characters.
Yeah, I did something different because I didn't want to get the major characters for the Bat Family besides Batman for my rewrite of Gotham Knights, which I am still working on, by the way, just because it's expanded so much.
It's infinitely better.
So the major difference is it is set in 2045. Well, originally, like at time, it's set in the future. So an inspiration is Batman Beyond, obviously.
In the not too distant future, next Sunday AD.
Right.
That's a reference to MST3K.
I think
if
he was
anyone didn't get it.
Pre-New 52, the Evelyn, the Earth 3 Joker Star character. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have changed her. Of course they do. Anyway, so the thing I was getting at with, I'm not gonna get too much into it because I plan on like releasing this stuff on Discord for you guys to read, or I actually might post it somewhere else and then give you links to it because, from what I understand, it is harder for you guys to read stuff on the Discord that I post there because I post PDFs there. So yeah, I'll figure it out, but it is taking a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it's super weird. It's a super weird universe that I've come up with, mainly because I'm trying to use more obscure stuff and characters. But yeah, like Gotham Knights itself, it actually has the Gotham Knights are legitimately a team of vigilantes and superheroes of Gotham that have been inspired by Batman, who has technically been missing or dead for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
The characters I have, and I had to do some reworking of this just because like it's a completely different premise. Well, obviously, I was keeping Turner Hayes, who is the original character and supposed to be Batman's son, but I've completely reworked that character.
You good? Yeah.
Yeah, I've completely reworked that character. Something else. I have season 1. I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know that. And I'm also keeping Dula Dent. Granted, not. It's complicated because I'm keeping her more or less like giving her the Joker thing where like she doesn't really know her past, but she doesn't really care much about it because she's all about the future.
The multiple choice path thing. Sometimes I'll remember it one way, sometimes another.
I mean, there are certain things of her past that I'm going to delve into later that are concrete, mind you, but overall, the way she is, what she is, not really.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a fun one. Jean-Paul Valley, Azrael.
He's the one with the 3 ears, right? The 3 bad ears.
Not that I'm aware of.
I vaguely remember that was his costume design in the comics, was that he had 3 bad ears instead of just 2.
No, it was like it's a middle version of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Not 3 ears though. Again, not to my knowledge. Not really going to do that, mind you. But also, fun fact, I did fan casting for this, and I have the guy who played Jack in Anarchy on the CW.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jack in Supernatural and Anarchy in the Arrowverse.
Oh, okay. The cute one.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but Jack was adorable in Supernatural. I can't help it.
He was cool. I'm just yeah, he's playing Jean-Paul Valley because I think he could really give some dimension and depth to that character because I'm aware of the general senses of him, which is like he's just a really crazed, fanatical dude.
Yeah, Ezreal has never been. He's never been a character that people have cared much about outside of the like '90s sort of Liefeld edgy era.
I plan to change people's minds about that.
Good for you.
Also, Bluebird, who was Harper. What was it? She's in this show too, apparently. Cool.
I want to say Harper Lee, but I know that's not right.
Harper Rowe, that was her name, aka Bluebird. The real difference is I was trying to just pick very obscure characters from the. Also, Stephanie Brown, who was actually supposed to be like the mentor character for the Gotham Knights, because she was actually like the last sidekick of Batman before he disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's supposed to be like the mentor character and stuff. Also, spoiler, just I don't want to legitimately she is spoiler. Like I'm not making her a Robin. Yeah.
I thought you were warning us about spoilers there for a second. I was like, oh wait, yeah, spoiler is a character now. Doy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the real thing is interesting, like kind of explore the idea of like how these characters kind of develop without being part of the Bat family.
Mm-hmm.
Or without the influence. Well, I mean, influence of the Bat kind of exists already, just the legend.
In reputation more than actual presence kind of thing.
And the first season villain is the Joker gang. You know, the Jokers, if anyone remembers the Batman Beyond thing.
Did you take your medicine tonight? So you're good till morning?
Would have been 3 a.m, but
okay, well,
I can skip one.
I can't get one until 9.
I can just skip it. It's fine. I think.
Because you're that low.
Right,
I did
but
a reminder today.
Oh shit.
Okay.
So sorry, my mom was asking me about my meds.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, it was legitimately just me trying to write the first season of Gotham Knights originally. But then it spiraled into me writing 8 seasons of Gotham Knights. And then whole universe for the CW. Like a couple different shows, specials, crossovers, other characters that populate the world.
Uh-huh.
I do the same thing I always do.
Because he can't help it. And I enable this habit of his because I poke things until they snap together like freaking Lego bricks, and then boom, we have a whole universe.
Right. But yeah, like I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I legitimately think I did a better version of the CW verse.
Yes, but granted, the limbo bar you would have to go above for that is literally in the like bedrock of the earth.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, it didn't start off bad, mind you. But
here we are.
Yeah. Anyway,
hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, so we end on something positive. I found this trailer just scrolling through YouTube a couple days ago. Still Batman themed. Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Animated film. So I actually looked up real quick just so like have something to mention. This is based on a book written by Mike Mignola.
Okay, that explains some things. Namely, the central element of the magic, because I think Mike Mignola and I are roughly on the same page, which is everything is better with magic.
Yeah, it was a mini. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a mini series of only 3 issues. Yeah, Elseworld Story miniseries, published November 2000, January 2001, under the Elseworlds imprint. Yeah. There's a synopsis of it. Well, we'll watch this as we talk about it. But
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Dalton was going to like this or not, and I at least thought it would be a conversation piece.
I ended up watching it because it showed up randomly in my recommended, and long story short, as I just alluded to, magic existing in things makes me happy, so I'm at least willing to give this a chance, and it being the result of Mike Mignola makes me even more likely to give it a chance, because I don't know if I've ever shown anyone my comic book shelf, but I have a lot of Mike Mignola's Hellboy universe. Don't actually have much in the way of actual Hellboy, because I've mentioned this to Brainstormer a couple of times, but I'm in a weird place with the Hellboy universe whereby I think that the things around Hellboy are actually more interesting than Hellboy himself as a character. Like even Abe Sapien I tend to like more than HB. I don't hate HB. Like HB is still one of my favorite characters. It's just that he's kind of a gun-toting bruiser character, even though he is, demon and the right hand of doom and the bringer of the apocalypse and yada yada yada. But like, apart from potentially dating said characters, I don't really care for those characters very much.
Fair enough. Shall we?
Yeah. Bet Nana.
Nana. This one deserves it.
Yes.
Doom. The great doom is coming.
Okay, so I will admit I somewhat wish it did the Mike Mignola art style, but I don't mind the art style they have now.
It's the DC universe, so they're gonna DCize it. So
I wasn't even sure if it is, because it really doesn't seem like it's set in the same universe as those other movies, like Long Halloween or.
No, it's an Elseworlds, but it's still in the DC multiverse, so DC art style.
Right. I mean, it's better than the New 52 movies that came out over the.
I mean, yeah. Other than the fact that it gave Matt Ryan a chance to reprise his role as Constantine a couple more times, which yay.
I didn't like the art style for that.
No, I didn't either, and they were cheap knockoffs in comparison to the Paul Dini Bruce Timm movies, but I got more Matt Ryan, John Constantine, so I made peace with it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, but I mean, it still looks good. Like it's kind of better than the others.
Yeah, the style has improved significantly from the other New 52-ish movies.
I like how it is set in like I want to say 20s, 30s.
Yeah, you could almost put this in Gotham by Gaslight, and it would look even cooler.
Well, Mike Mignola. Well, okay. Well, he just co-author on it. Sorry, I'm looking on the IMDb.
Yep.
I'm just trying to find the cast as well.
Yeah. I'm kind of sad that this wasn't Kevin Conroy's last iteration in the role of Batman, but that's gonna sting me every time I watch a Batman product now until the day I die, probably. Because
that is, huh?
You
ever watch Grimm?
As in edgier, slightly more well put together Once Upon a Time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember Nick, right? The main character.
Yeah. He was the main detective dude.
The guy who played Nick is voicing Batman in this.
Okay, that's good casting. I mean, as per usual, rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. No one will ever replace you as Batman, and so on and so forth. But if we must have someone who isn't Kevin Conroy, I don't hate him. So, yeah.
David Dastmalchian is in here. Polka Dot Man.
Why do I know that name?
Polka Dot Man.
Oh, yay, fun.
You always forget. I don't get how you do.
I knew the name. I just didn't. My brain hadn't permanently formed the link between David Dastmalchian is Polka Dot Man. I just remember Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad 2 being awesome. And I remember David Dastmalchian doing a thing, but thank you for reminding me. He was the one who did the really awesome Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad 2.
All right, shall we?
Batnana.
Batnana.
The sins of the father are heaped upon the son.
You have no clue the power this book possesses.
I know those who seek it mean to do this city harm.
I really like the look and just the tone of this. Like, it's intense.
Yeah, no, this is exactly why everything is better with magic, because it enables this kind of, like, Batman in particular is a character who fits really well in the sort of darker supernatural parts of the DC universe, because he already is sort of gothic by nature. So putting him in the middle of a occult/cult plot really works. That's why, unlike a lot of people who were Justice League Dark fans, I didn't absolutely hate him being involved in Justice League Dark, the movie from a couple of years ago. I still would have preferred he not be there, but I didn't uncharacteristically for me throw an absolute hissy fit over it. Because I tend to throw absolute hissy fits over everything, but I didn't throw a hissy fit over that. Although, granted, I was just happy to have John back.
Well, I will say
Matt
it
Ryan.
does. Okay, so it may not have the same art style as like Mike Mignola comics, but
it's vibing off of them pretty well. Yeah.
What I was gonna say, it has like kind of a, I want to say texture on like some of the like surroundings and stuff.
Yeah.
And this both feels like epic, but also, what's the word? I guess dark is the best way I could describe it.
Subtle, kind of. Epic but subtle.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we?
Batnana.
Before it can be truly saved, Gotham must be burned to the ground.
Talking dead folks, reptile plagues, it's not natural.
It's a cult that has long ties to Gotham.
Gotham seems to have a lot of cults. Anyone else realizing that?
Well, I mean, given, again, it's sort of gothic turn of the century atmosphere, yeah, it's sort of it's very much the same sort of atmosphere that like Aleister Crowley and Samuel Mathers would have, like, their style of occultism would have grown in. So it doesn't. Plus, given the Court of Owls and League of Shadows and all of their meddling, and all of the random bouts of insanity that happen in Gotham, I'm not surprised that someone didn't organize them all into some kind of cult. But I mean, good for this particular cult that they're actually competent enough to engage in magic. Because while a cult and cult aren't necessarily the same thing, the best cults are usually a cult in nature, if that makes any sense.
So it's weird how many cults there are in Gotham, right? Just a staggering amount, right?
Well, because when people lose hope and need something to believe in, there are people who will do good by people for that, i.e. Batman, other Gotham-based heroes, etc. And there are people who will take advantage of that and milk it for all it's worth, hence cult leaders.
Fair enough.
When you need something to believe in, beware that the person who offers you the thing to believe in is not a vampirically manipulative little shit.
I'm just saying, like, it's still weird.
Oh yeah, there's a lot, but then again, if a city exists for long enough, there's a lot of weird unseen shit in it.
Fair
Trust
enough.
me.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Anyway.
That Nana.
Also, a dig that they brought in Etrigan and Jason Blood here.
Yeah, it works. It really works, and it seems like they're playing him. It seems like they're playing them a little bit more straight than they did in Justice League Dark. So cool.
Batnana?
Batnana.
Spirit, we come to us now.
I can't pretend to know exactly what I'm about to face, but I do know I must stop it.
We need
So wait now, is the
and honor the damnation which bore it.
Sorry, I just 20 seconds.
Yeah, so question, is the cult's goal to bind Etrigan and enslave him to do their bidding? Because that's metal as fuck.
No, it looks like they're going to bring hell to Gotham. Like, legit hell to Gotham.
Presumably using Etrigan as a gateway or something?
I honestly can't tell you. I think it's like one of those trailers that, until you actually see the movie, it's going to keep it as ambiguous as possible.
Well, what does the plot of the comic it's based on say?
Let me look up.
Because that was why I was asking. I assumed you still had the background research open.
Okay. Story deals around with them in the 1920s, fighting against mystical and supernatural forces that are taking Gotham by storm after he accidentally reawakens the being known as the Lurker on the Threshold.
Oh shit, that guy. Fuck.
Yeah, I believe original. I don't know if they're really doing that or not, but I believe it was more with the actual comic itself. It was actually more an idea of like Lovecraftian entities, like Batman facing Lovecraftian entities.
Yeah, like, it's Mike Mignola. He's cut from a similar cloth as me, where everything is better with magic, everything is better with Lovecraftian entities. But if the Lurker on the Threshold is actually going to be the villain here, whoo boy, because the closest analogy I can make for him is he's sort of similar to the DC Universe's version of Cthon in the Marvel Universe. He's no one to fuck with. He's similar to Nyarlathotep in nature.
Asperger? Asperger?
No, he's more a gatekeeper.
Oh, okay.
That's why he's called the Lurker on the Threshold, because he's the one who is essentially the doorman of the Lovecraftian entities.
Okay, fair enough.
In the DC universe, anyway.
So, the thing I also love about this is like because the thing that also kind of bugged me a lot with the New 52 movies
Mm-hmm.
They they try to be like movie like and not being creative with like their shots. To my knowledge, I haven't watched all of them, mind you, but they never felt like they always try to keep like the framing and stuff. They never like try to go crazy with the camera or anything.
Yeah.
Superpowers or anything like that, but whatever.
A bit basic
Yeah.
is I think what you're going for.
Yeah, basic. But here, like, you're seeing some really like artistic shots, obviously because it is supernatural, so it has to be very elevated and stuff.
I mean, yeah, the shot with Jason presumably transforming into Etrigan, was very cool and very, for lack of a better word, hellish. Which, given who he is and what he do, that makes sense.
I was talking about this scene. Batman on like a spell circle.
Yeah, he's in a circle of some description, presumably a protective one. Because that's mostly what circles are for. Is they're there to protect the practitioner as well as to sort of modify and step up the energy of the practitioner.
But I mean, look at this shot. Look at it. Like,
Yeah, I'm never not going to enjoy seeing a glowing spell circle. Like, that's always going to be something that's going to bring joy to my mind.
The lighting, the coloring, the bats around him and stuff, and now it's all.
The glowing etheric runes and shit in the circle and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's artistic and it's.
Which does bring into the question: is Batman actually casting here, or is he trying to keep himself safe from some entity? Because if Batman starts casting, I will have a geekgasm that will shatter the planet.
I mean, it looks like he's actually. It looks like one of those circles that transfers your mind to a different plane. It shows that he's falling from the circle itself.
Right. So yeah, he's he's either trying to open a door of some description or trying to contact something.
I think this is a demonic poison ivy.
Which, I mean, does work to some degree, because especially since New 52, they've tried to connect her to the Green. So yeah, I guess.
Well, 1920s and stuff, and she's fighting like knights here.
Which I assume are probably related to Jason, because he was a knight of Camelot once upon a not so long ago.
It could be the Order of Saint Dumas.
That is also true.
Although it's not a red cross, which was, I believe, one of the major things. Although I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I haven't read this particular comic, so I'm not able to use the comic itself as a point of reference. The only thing honestly that's missing here is it would have been nice to see Matt Ryan's John Constantine interacting with Batman again, but
John Constantine in 1920 setting. Honestly, I don't really think he changes that much.
No, he's still the like gumshoe detective, balmy British bastard. Although since we are in a 1920 setting, where is Kent? Where's Dr. Fate? Because that's exactly his wheelhouse.
Fair enough. Shall we?
Yeah.
Batman.
Mercy.
What did this?
Master Bruce, what's happening to you?
What needs to happen?
Bruce Wayne must die. And through death, become this city's savior.
Okay, I'm assuming that's the Lazarus Pit.
Name
or a Lazarus Pit.
I honestly can tell you. This is good. Like I'm invested. Like I want to see this.
Yeah, I haven't been interested in a DC product for a while, but yeah, this is actually a pretty cool concept here.
Yeah.
I mean, leave it to Mike Mignola. That doesn't. Again, like a third of my comic book shelves are filled with Mike Mignola shit, so that doesn't surprise me. But still,
I kind of wish the music was a little more unique. Although that could just be the trailer music and not the actual music.
yeah, I think it's the trailer music. I don't think it's the actual stuff for the movie.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of expecting, and if they don't do this, I'm cool with it. But I would be a little bit disappointed. I hope they kind of make it a little more. I mean, sure, keep it like maybe 1920s ish, but also ethereal and almost haunting. You know.
Yeah, play with the dark occult vibes here.
Yeah, and
because if we're talking like 1920s, 1940s, that's prime Golden Dawn territory we're talking about. So
or even like make a totally like ambient soundtrack, you know?
Yeah, like almost Death Note style choir music.
Yeah, something like that.
Or speaking of choir music, remember in original series Ben 10, whenever Hex showed up, they would always kind of give him this like dark choir thing.
I'd have to rewatch that. I was not paying attention to the music back then.
Fair enough. I remember it because, unsurprisingly, those were my favorite episodes.
To be fair, Dawn, you were old enough to pay attention to stuff like that. I was just watching it to watch it.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, I was already beginning my journey as a magical practitioner at the time, so like yeah, it was inevitable that I would pay attention to shit like that.
No.
Nana.
Hello, Bruce.
Can't be.
Is that supposed to be Thomas Wayne?
I think so.
Okay, and now you have my attention. Ghost of Thomas Wayne is involved now. Damn.
I dig the cover art. Although I really wish that we would get some type of actual release for this, not like just video or Blu-ray or whatever.
Yeah, I had the same thought for Constantine City of Demons, but you know, which I'll be fair and say the covers look similar, which makes sense because they are, you know, playing with the demons and the damnation and the occult vibes.
That was good. I also think that was a good way to detox from all the stupid we dealt with.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be buying that when it comes out. When is the release date?
Okay, I'll look that up too. Give me a second. March 28th, 2023.
Okay, so I think that's actually right around Easter. I know what I'm asking for this year.
I'll probably wait a month or two, ask if I can get that. Just because, like, you know.
I mean, yeah, your birthday is in November, so.
Yeah, that was cool, man. Like that is like.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been interested in a Batman-based thing, but so help me, they done did it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
fuck off.